Chapter 642. At the same time, in the forest of phantasms in the inner world. This was a place filled with electricity. The reason it was called a forest was because the scenery here was complicated. It was like the shadows of the trees. The sound waves, electromagnetism, light, and even time and space in the forest were intertwining and changing with an unpredictable pattern. They were all visible to the naked eye. At this moment, in the depths of the forest, a person who was originally running at high speed suddenly stopped. "Boss, it sure is hard to find you here." He looked at a black stone before him and said, "Even with the constant signal you sent me, I still have to look for you for so long." Of course. The one who replied him was a strange-looking black stone that was floating in the air. Its size was about 3 cubic meters. It was made of crystal. The surface of the stone was decorated with gray patterns. "The reason I am here is so that no one can find me." "Fine." The man shrugged and replied in a casual tone. "In any case, long time no see, boss." "Red Iron, I have told you many times," the stone said. "Do not call me boss." His voice and tone were soft and pleasant to the ears. "If you do not wish to call me sir, you could just call me Zero." "Fine, fine, sir." "K1. Red Iron responded impatiently, and then said, "By the way, how did you end up like this?" He studied Zero from head to toe. "I feel like I have seen you somewhere before." Hearing that, Zero only replied with 3 words, "Formless demon." "Oh, yes, Red Iron said. "I knew you looked familiar." "So, you're the big rock from the 9 Spectres." "The big rock that you mentioned is a mirror file that I created for myself when the main universe of Thriller Paradise was formed," Zero replied. "When necessary, I will activate this backup." He paused. "For example, now?" Red Iron said thoughtfully. "A thing that originated from you, that is similar to a bin file, can be listed as one of the 9 Spectres in the main universe. Just how powerful is your real body? As my subordinate, is it appropriate for you to ask such a question?" Zero said. "Also, did you get the main point of my words?" "The main point?" Red Tie was stunned for a moment. "Oh, I understand." He looked at Zero again. "Did something happen to you?" "Nonsense," Zero replied gloomily. "I've already started the backup and hidden a place like this. What do you think?" "So?" Chitai scratched his head. "What is it?" "No comment," Zero replied. F*CK. "Then why did you call me here?" Chitai replied unhappily. "I have a mission that I need to explain to you in person." Zero's tone turned serious. "It's not safe to use long-distance communication. If the data is intercepted on the table, it will ruin everything. The chances of that happening are slim." Akatsuki said. "But it's not Zero." Zero said, "We have to eliminate the possibility of accidents as much as possible, even if the probability is very low." "It sounds like," Chitai said. "This mission is very troublesome." "Yes," Zero said, "but it's still within my calculations." He paused for a second. "Anyway, compared to the mission 23 is carrying out, the risk factor of your mission is very low." "Ah, that's true," Chitai said. Red Iron continued. "Your battle plan of snatching SCP-079, then deliberately falling into a trap, pretending to be desperate and escaping in a pie's labyrinth, luring Link and Eden while you're at it. If I were to carry it out, it would basically fail 100%. "I know," Zero said. "I don't need any calculation to know that kind of thing." He sighed, although he didn't have the organ to breathe. "Okay, listen to your mission. On the other side, LJN Theme Park, Pixel Junkyard. Well, the environment is not bad." When Feng Bujua said this, he put his hands in his pockets and followed behind Loot. He looked around with an expression of a country bumpkin entering the city. "What do you mean by not bad?" Loot asked without turning her head. "What's so good about this kind of environment that only appears in apocalyptic movies?" "Okay, I'm just saying," Brother Jew replied. Then D2, Red, turned to Loot. "This is strange. Isn't this one of Origin's bases? How come the scan didn't detect any of your anomalies nearby? We've been short on manpower recently," Loot said as she turned to glare at Brother Jew. "In the last mission, most of my direct subordinates were killed. Why are you looking at me like that? It's not like I killed them all." Brother Ju narrowed his eyes. As they spoke, Lute had already reached her personal sofa and sat down comfortably. After she sat down, she turned to look at D2, red, and D2, green, and threw out a very direct question. I say, the two of you, do you want to be my subordinates? For humans, to make such a request when they had just met each other would definitely be strange. But among anomalies, there was no such problem. In a world of data, this was like a simple access operation. There was no such thing as inappropriate. This was the inner world. High-level data invited low-level anomalies to join them, and then they would expand their power and carry out their ideology. This kind of thing happened almost every moment. Hey, don't you think it's very unlucky to say this sentence together with the previous sentence? Feng Bujue would not be happy if he did not say something like this. But Lute ignored him. Join Origin. Red did not mind Lute's previous sentence, but her answer was, but I want to be friends with humans, so I'll pass. Listen carefully, little girl. I'm not asking you to join Origin. I'm asking you to be my subordinate. Lute changed her expression and repeated herself. Huh? Red was startled like she did not fully understand what Lute meant. At that moment, no one would have thought that the taciturn Qing, who always had a nonchalant attitude, would suddenly interject. Say yes, Red. Red turned to look at Qing and said rather woodenly, since even Qing has said so. She turned to Lute again. Okay, we'll join you. Should I call you sir? You can call me anything you want. After saying that, Lute ignored the two girls. She moved her gaze to Brother Ju and said, all right, now that there are no outsiders here, we need to talk. Chapter 643. On the 19th of June, in the real-world City S. 1 week ago, Feng Bujue and Li Ruoyu visited the inner world together and successfully returned to the login lobby before dawn. No one knew where they went and what they did. That night, the four teammates who were in the scenario with them only saw the two of them mysteriously disappear from the rooftop of Ghost Power Company. After that, the scenario mysteriously ended. Since V1 War God had disappeared from the scenario, the system immediately judged that the players had completed the quest and completed the requirement to clear the scenario. For Wang Tanji, Gu Xiaoling, Tire Dream, and Tan Lang, this should have been good news because they had cleared this nightmare mode team dungeon with just one battle. However, the four of them didn't seem to be very happy after clearing the stage. Tire Dream was fine, but he was confused. Tan Lang, on the other hand, was worried. As a member of Blades, he had seen so many weird things in this scenario, so he had to write a detailed report to his superiors. Regarding Xiao Tan and Xiao Ling, they were very worried. Thankfully, there was one thing that was certain. In the login lobby, through the friend list, they could see that Feng Bujue and Passing Rain were in-game. It was because of this that Xiao Tan and Xiao Ling did not call or rush to the two's home to check on them. The next day, Brother Bujue and Ruoyu, who returned, said that they had only activated a hidden quest and entered a new map. Nothing out of the ordinary had happened. Hearing that, Xiao Tan and Xiao Ling did not ask any more questions. Therefore, the matter was left unsettled. 1 week passed in the blink of an eye. During this period, Feng Bujue and Ruoyu had been paired up. The time they spent online had obviously increased, and their level and ability had increased significantly. Obviously, they had come to some kind of agreement, deal, or conspiracy with Ruoyu. But on the surface, they still pretended that nothing had happened, saying that they did not purposely go to level up. And this behavior, from an outsider's perspective, there was a different meaning behind it. Considering the strange conversation they had on the rooftop that night, the other three from Underworld Frontline naturally thought of that. Of course, as Feng Bujue and Ruoyu's friends, family, and colleagues in real life. Xiao Tan, Xiao Ling, and Yueqin very wisely chose to play dumb. Their mentality was simple. If the two weirdos wanted to have a secret date in a scary game, then let them. 1 p.m. on the 19th, in front of coffee shop. Late, Feng Bujue said, I'm working in my family's home. I'm at home. And I have cars, more than one. Huh? Feng Bujue. Suddenly, a woman's voice came from behind Brother Ju. The voice sounded familiar, but it was not the person Brother Jew was waiting for. Feng Bujue's expression changed slightly when he heard the voice. He searched in the temple of thought and remembered the owner of the voice was his high school ex-girlfriend. "Oh, it's you." Brother Jew slowly turned around and said, "Long time no see." The girl in front of him was wearing a very simple dress. She looked like a 17 or 18-year-old student, but her actual age was the same as Brother Jew's, 24. "Yeah, it's been a long time," the girl continued. "About 5 years." "Almost," Feng Bujue replied. He deliberately pretended to be absent-minded. "You seem to have grown taller," the girl said. "A little." Feng Bujue did not want to say more, so he tried to be cold and brief. "Haha, you're much more handsome than you were in high school," the girl said. "Is that so?" Feng Bujue narrowed his eyes and said casually. Actually, Brother Jew had only casually combed his hair and put on a random long-sleeve t-shirt, a random pair of jeans, and a random pair of sneakers. He had been complimented on his appearance in such a casual situation, but he did not take advantage of the opportunity to show off. That went to show how desperate he was to end this conversation. "Oh, I've seen you on TV before." The girl's desire to talk didn't seem to decrease at all. "It's that show called I'm a Writer, Please Criticize Me." "You're so good." "It's okay," Brother Jew answered calmly, but internally he was thinking, hey, I've been eliminated, okay? How can you praise me like that? Look at this, something is not right. Could it be that this is some kind of fate that we ran into each other? Combined with the fact that he is single now, he wants to reconnect with me, so that he can use me as a backup or something like that. Note, the fact that the man is currently single, Brother Jew found out through observation and deduction. For him, this level of deduction is almost instinctive. When he stands on the street and has nothing to do, he'll look at the passers-by and do some irresponsible analysis to pass the time. By the way, you haven't come to any of the class reunions for the past few years. Since we've met so coincidentally today, why don't you give me your phone number? A lot of old classmates want to contact you, but they can't. As expected, the girl said something that Brother Jew didn't want to hear. A lot of old classmates who want to contact me. Feng Bujue mumbled. Who was Brother Jew? Once he heard that, he knew that the man was just trying to find an excuse to get his phone number. Young girl, you should know when to stop talking nonsense. Feng Bujue sneered in his heart. Based on what I did in school, those who want to contact me, or rather, dare to contact me, are only those people from the Feng Bujue Annihilation Planning Committee and the Avengers Alliance. Plus, we're all in our 20s now. Those kinds of Chinibu organizations should be long gone. What's wrong? Is there an inconvenience? The girl saw that Feng Bujue still hadn't picked up the phone, so she looked confused. Oh no, I can't think of an excuse. Brother Jew thought. He was sweating. He really didn't want to have anything to do with his ex-girlfriend, and he didn't want to contact his old classmates who weren't his friends. Feng Bujue didn't use social media and rarely disclosed his personal information. He wanted to keep his social circle small. But in this situation, the girl was just talking to him normally. If he didn't even give her his phone number, it would be too weird and ungentlemanly. Phew. I say, you're really something. Just as Brother Jew was at his wit's end and was about to give in, another voice rang out. Feng Bujue turned around and saw Ruoyu. She was still dressed in the same way, black t-shirt, jeans, and her medium-length hair casually draped over her shoulders. But Ruoyu was actually smoking right now. Brother Jew saw this scene and froze on the spot, speechless. I went to buy a pack of cigarettes, and another one popped up. Right? Ruoyu's tone was like that of a female hooligan. She crossed her left hand in front of her chest and held the cigarette in her right hand. She stared at Feng Bujue unhappily and said, Tell me, how long have you been hiding this? Brother Jew still didn't know how to respond. You're not going to tell me? You don't have to. You're not telling the truth anyway. Ruoyu quickly added, then tilted her head and glanced at Brother Jew's ex-girlfriend. Girl, let me give you a piece of advice. It's fine if you're just being tricked, but you have to take care of your money. Don't get sold without even knowing it. Also, if this bastard takes you to get an abortion, you have to insist on going to a proper hospital. Last time he took someone to an illegal clinic. Before she finished speaking, The girl had already turned around and walked away, as if she was running away from the plague. Before she left, she glanced at Brother Jew with disgust. It seemed like she regretted taking the initiative to talk to him. Ruoyu waited for the man to walk away and disappear around a corner before putting down the cigarette. Cough, cough. A cough. She covered her mouth and coughed violently several times. It took her more than 10 seconds to catch her breath. Phew! Smoking is so suffocating. Hey. Brother Jew was shocked. He stared at Ruoyu and asked, "What's going on?" "Oh, it's like this," Ruoyu said as she put out the cigarette and threw the whole pack of cigarettes and lighter into a trash can by the side of the road. Then she raised her finger and pointed behind Brother Jew. "Just now, I walked around the corner and happened to see you talking to her. Seeing that you were in a difficult situation, I quickly turned around and bought cigarettes and a lighter from the cigarette shop around the corner. Then I came over to help you out." "Whoa." Brother Jew wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. "You're quite good at acting. You managed to scare me." "Same here," Ruoyu said as she turned around. "Thank you so much this time," Brother Jew said. "I owe you one." "It's okay," Ruoyu said. "If I wasn't late, we would already be sitting in the shop, and this wouldn't have happened." In fact, she was also quite depressed. Because it was troublesome to find a parking space outside, she took a taxi. On the way, there was a traffic jam, so she was more than 10 minutes late. "Anyway, let's go in first." Phone Bujua changed the topic at the right time. "Okay," Ruoyu responded, and the two walked into the cafe behind them. Chapter 644. So, you met her in your second year of high school. Ruoyu rested her chin on one hand and looked at Brother Jew across the table. They were already sitting in the coffee shop. The first thing they talked about was what happened just now. "That depends on how you understand the concept of knowing." Phone Bujua used a spoon to gently stir the coffee in his cup as he replied. "Tell me about it." Ruoyu continued. "I already knew her before I entered high school," Phone Bujua said. "Oh, is she a celebrity? The school belle?" Ruoyu asked again. "No, I suppose you can call me the prettiest girl in the class, but that is not the main point," Brother Jew replied. "The main point is, before I even stepped into the door of high school, I already know everyone at school." Ruoyu heard this and was slightly taken aback. However, in the next second, she understood what Brother Jew meant. "You did your research beforehand?" "Yes," Phone Bujua said in a very calm tone. "During the summer, after graduating from junior high school, while my peers were running around cram schools, internet cafes, cinemas, and swimming pools, I was doing secret and rigorous research." He paused for 2 seconds, took a sip of coffee, and continued. "First, I used some connections and successfully obtained a name list of all the students in Shinyu High School. Connections?" Ruoyu was puzzled. "Yes, connections." Phone Buju nodded and replied. "I have people in the Education Bureau. In the Education Bureau, there's your people." Ruoyu looked at Brother Jew with a half-smile and repeated what he said. She continued. "When you were 15, yes." Phone Buju nodded. "I merely pretended to be a 12-year-old lowly and had an online relationship with a married uncle for a few months. From there, I managed to get my hands on some of the indecent pictures that he voluntarily sent me and a large amount of unsavory chat history. From then on, he became my lackey." Ruoyu did not know what to say. Technically speaking, this is not a very difficult thing to do. Phone Bujue continued. "A lot of civil servants' information can be found on official websites. Based on this information, I can find their accounts on social media and add them as friends before taking further action." He took another sip of coffee. "Phew. Anyway, decent people won't take the bait. If they're perverted, they deserve to be threatened and used. I won't judge your motives, but your methods are equivalent to extortion." Ruoyu continued. You didn't consider the consequences when you did it." "Humph. Of course, I consider the consequences." Phone Bujue sneered and replied. "So I was very clear that there were no consequences at that time. I was 15 years old, and my criminal responsibility was limited. According to the criminal law, if a person who is 14 years old and under 16 years old commits intentional homicide, intentional injury causing serious injury or death, rape, robbery, drug trafficking, arson, explosion, and spreading dangerous substances, he should be held criminally responsible. Except for the above 8 crimes, people of this age are not criminally responsible. At the same time, the criminal law clearly states that if a person who is 14 years old and under 18 years old commits a crime, he should be given a lighter or mitigated punishment. Please note that there is no extortion in this article. Also, the definition of extortion refers to the act of using threats or coercion against the victim for the purpose of illegal possession. But in my case, I didn't ask for any financial information from the target. Even when the other party offered to buy back the photos and chat records with money, I expressed my refusal. Fong Bujue finished this long paragraph in one breath. He paused and said, "In summary, even if he called the police, he wouldn't be able to convict me. On the contrary, he might be sentenced for obscenity. Even if it doesn't meet the sentencing criteria, his family and career would be ruined. Once this matter is exposed, he would be fired from his job and would never be able to raise his head in front of others for the rest of his life." Ruo Yu heard this and took a sip of coffee to calm herself down. "You've been so evil since you were young. Does your family know?" "I don't think so." Fong Bujue shrugged. "In any case, the reason I'm telling you all this is to give you an idea of the way I did things back then. If you hear the term network again, I won't ask about these details anymore." Ruo Yu interrupted. "Okay." Fong Bujue nodded and paused for 2 seconds. He brought the topic back to the part he didn't finish before that. In addition to the basic student list, I also took a look at their past academic results, family situation, and other information. He looked up and said thoughtfully, "One summer break is enough to remember all these. As for the information of the teachers and school leaders, I had already done a thorough investigation when I applied for this high school. Everything is under control." "Why did you do all this?" Ruo Yu continued. "Do you want to be the man who dominates Qinghua?" "No, it's just to make the school life safer and more comfortable." Fong Bujue tapped his temple with his finger. "Information, or intelligence, is one of the most precious resources in the world. Once you have the information, you have the initiative." He licked his lips. Humans are animals who are good at disguising themselves, especially in an unfamiliar environment, when facing a group of strangers of the same kind. At this time, calm judgment is not enough. You must have enough information to support it. Then you can expose those who are wearing masks. He smiled. "It's precisely because I understand this that I was able to tell on the first day of school which one of my classmates is a delinquent, which one is a model student, which one is a green TB*TCH, which one is a homicidal maniac with latent violent tendencies. Did anyone see that you are a high IQ antisocial lunatic?" Ruo Yu narrowed her eyes. "Yes," Fong Bujue said, "but that was a year later, when the Fong Bujue Annihilation Plan Committee and the Avengers were established. I don't know why, but when I heard the names of these 2 organizations, I didn't think it was strange at all." Ruo Yu's tone was gradually tainted with Brother Ju's sarcasm. "Okay, let's talk about that person." Brother Ju continued. "As I said, I knew her when I first entered the school. She knew me. It should be in the 2nd year of high school. At that time, my reputation in the school's underworld had reached its peak. So, as the backbone of the student council, she also knew my name." "Huh?" Ruo Yu laughed dryly. She was too lazy to continue the conversation. She just asked indifferently, and then, "Did you take the initiative to pursue her?" Or, "Yes, I did take the initiative." Fong Bujue interrupted Ruo Yu's words. "But I don't like her. I just need a girlfriend." From a variety of perspectives, as long as one pondered over these words for a bit, they would reveal a very nasty message. "You scum." Ruo Yu's expression suddenly became cold. "Don't misunderstand." Fong Bujue also realized that his words could easily cause a misunderstanding. "I didn't mean that." "Then what do you mean?" Ruo Yu asked. The thing is," Fong Bujue said, "Xiao Tan and I have been classmates since elementary school. You know that, right?" "Yes," Ruo Yu responded. "Xiao Tan's family situation, I don't need to say more, right?" "No need." Before junior high school, the situation was fine. After all, everyone was still young. Fong Bujue continued, "But in the 2nd and 3rd years of junior high school, trouble came. In class, in school, and even outside of school. There were girls with impure motives who chased after Xiaotan. Please note that I have evidence when I say that their motives are impure. I did a detailed investigation of their family background and lifestyle. Okay, get to the point. Ruwa, you really didn't want to hear the details. Feng Buju nodded and continued. As for Xiaotan, he's not stupid, but he's too kind. It's not that he doesn't have the ability to see through liars, but most of the time, he's more willing to believe that others are good people. Of course, there are also people who are moved by his Jesus-like feelings and can't bear to do it, or even really like him, but those are the minority. Most of the time, it's still me who has to deal with those guys with evil intentions. Does this have anything to do with you? Ruwa, you asked. Don't worry, we'll get to it soon. Brother Bujue continued. Then we went to high school. Xiaotan's qualities are there. He's handsome, comes from a rich family, and is very innocent. These days, a lot of girls are very casual. There are a lot of young girls in high school who have fallen for Xiaotan. If I were to record all of these girls' attacks on Xiaotan, I'd probably be able to write a school action sci-fi romance, thriller suspense novel. Then you were provoked and pushed down the prettiest girl next door? Ruwa, you asked again. Why do you like to interrupt so much? Feng Bujue said, listen to me. Ruwa, you unhappily took a sip of coffee. Fortunately, I was watching over Xiaotan. Feng Bujue continued. In the first year of high school, besides pacifying the first-year delinquents, developing a spy in the student council, transforming the utility room next to the principal's office into a club activity room for the reasoning department, and forcing the people in the education department to hang themselves. I didn't forget to take care of my childhood friend. If you're so busy, then forget about it. Ruwa, you finally couldn't help but complain again. Under my secret protection, he avoided syphilis 3 times, badgers 6 times, and became a father 15 times. Brother Bujue continued. Ruwa, you broke out in cold sweat. You really worked hard. It's okay, I don't have many friends, so this is what I should do. Feng Bujue finished the rest of the coffee in his cup and continued. However, because of this, I made a lot of enemies. When I was in my second year of high school, those be asterisk cheese, Brother Bujue cursed here, please understand the original English, came up with a plan to spread the rumor that I was gay in school. Ruwa, you spat out the coffee in her mouth. She quickly covered her mouth with a tissue so that she didn't lose her composure. Actually, when she heard this, the misunderstanding was already resolved, and Ruwa Yu's expression relaxed a lot. You're too naive. Feng Bujue raised his eyebrows. I've already prepared a countermeasure for this kind of despicable means. The day the rumor appeared, I pulled out my girlfriend candidate list. Hey! Ruwa Yu's eyes widened, and she softly shouted, What is that thing? It's just a list that I categorized out of boredom when I was doing my research. Feng Bujue replied calmly, I also have a friend candidate list, henchman candidate list, classmates to kill if necessary, gay friend candidate list if I find out I'm gay, and so on. He paused. Oh, right, I also have a name list called In Case I Have to Give Birth to a Child with My Girlfriend. It records the names of each of their sons and daughters. Splash. Ruwa Yu splashed the remaining half of the coffee in her cup onto Brother Bujue's face. Although I know that your behavior is purely the behavior of a weirdo, Rainey said as she put down her cup. But objectively speaking, I think you deserve to be splashed by someone. Brother Ju was not offended by that. He used his hand to wipe his face and then picked up the napkin on the table to slowly wipe his face. To put it simply, I went through the list and picked out the most suitable one. He continued like nothing had happened. The next day, I went to find her directly and asked her if she was willing to date me, and that was how it worked. Hey, Ruwa Yu turned her head and squinted at Brother Bujue. I thought she was quite good. Why did she agree to be with you? At first glance, I'm not bad, right? Feng Bujue said as he wiped his face, but after getting to know me better, 90 out of 100 people would be scared away. As for the remaining few, they might become my friends. Then, how did you break up? Ruwa Yu asked again. Was it because of your studies in the 3rd year of high school? Or after graduation, it was natural? There's nothing to break up about. We weren't really together in the first place. Feng Bujue replied. In the first few weeks, I went to the movies with her a few times. Half a month's worth of food expenses disappeared in an instant in a dark theater, which made me very depressed. After the rumors died down, I stopped talking to her. As he spoke, he opened another pack of napkins. If we're talking about the official breakup, it should have been half a year later. She couldn't stand my indifferent attitude and wanted me to make it clear. So I said, I love you. A man will only say it once in his life. When you're about to die, I'll say it. Then, there's nothing after that, right? Rainey continued. Yes, and then Brother Bujua spread his hands and smiled. Huh. Ruayu let out a sigh of relief. What a sad story. Chapter 645. I can't see any sadness on your face. Fong Bujua said. I can only see coffee stains that haven't been wiped clean on your face, Ruayu said as she reached out to use the tissue to wipe Brother Ju's left cheek. Oh, thank you, Fong Bujua replied without moving his head. Don't misunderstand, Ruayu said expressionlessly. I just realized that after I splashed you with coffee, a lot of people were looking at us. So, I'm putting on an act to make it easier for you to get off the stage. Oh, you're overthinking it. Fong Bujua smiled and said, Actually, a lot of people have been looking at us since we entered this shop. It's all because of your looks. It has nothing to do with you splashing coffee on me. I'm sorry for looking like this, Ruayu said as she retracted her hand. It's not just about your looks, but also your body. Fong Bujua smiled jokingly as he looked down. Is it fun to stare at me through my clothes every day? Ruayu stared at Brother Ju. It's fun. Fong Bujua joked, but, judging from your tone, do you have a more interesting idea? Yes, Ruayu replied. Poking your eyes out, chemical castration, and so on, they're all good ideas. Fong Bujua heard this, and his smile deepened. Did you notice that your tone is very similar to mine? Ha! What joke, why would I? At this point, Ruayu's expression froze because she suddenly realized that the tone of her sentence sounded very much like Brother Ju's. See, Fong Bujua shrugged and said, I noticed it a few days ago in the script. In the past, when you argued with me, although your words were sharp, your tone was slightly lacking. But now, you are really sharp-tongued and aggressive. He leaned back. Also, you only do this when you're talking to me or when we're alone. Before he finished speaking, Ruayu fell into silence. A full minute later, waiter! Ruayu suddenly turned her head and called the nearest waiter. The waiter was a young man in his early 20s. He had long noticed the two lunatics at the table. One had a smile on his face, while the other had a cold expression. They were chatting and splashing coffee on each other. After splashing coffee on each other, their expressions remained the same, and they were chatting and laughing as if nothing had happened. What do you need? The young man quickly walked over and asked formally. However, Ruayu rather rudely interrupted him. Please give me 2 more cups of the same coffee. Thank you. She spoke very quickly and sounded slightly annoyed. Okay, after the waiter responded, he took away the 2 cups and left as quickly as possible. Ha. Brother Ju glanced at the young man who was scared away and then turned to Ruayu. He smiled and said, It looks like someone is angry from embarrassment. I can't argue with that. Ruayu whispered, It's a bit depressing. Compared to being depressing, Fong Bujua said, It's more like being embarrassed. The coffee will be served hot in a while. Ruayu glared at Brother Ju unhappily. So you better restrain the excitement in your eyes. Okay. Brother Ju changed his expression and immediately put on his usual listless expression. I won't talk about this in the future. You should be careful. Of course, if you can't change it, I don't mind. Oomph. Ruayu didn't respond. She just sighed unhappily. Due to her anger, a touch of crimson climbed up her white cheeks. In the real world, this was the first time Brother Ju saw such a scene. To be fair, Li Ruayu's appearance, whether in the eyes of lovers, enemies, or even in the eyes of a eunuch, was undeniably beautiful. Phew! After another moment of silence, Ruayu seemed to have made up her mind about something. She took a deep breath and then said in a deep voice, After dinner today, don't leave yet. Come home with me. Regardless of Fong Bujua's reaction, when Ruayu said this, the waiter just happened to bring coffee to their table. This is your coffee. The waiter's expression and movements were obviously stiff. He quickly put down 2 cups of fresh coffee and then disappeared like a wisp of smoke, as if he had heard something he shouldn't have. Go home with you? Feng Bujue pretended to be calm as he replied. As he spoke, he pretended to be very relaxed. He reached out and took a cup of coffee in front of him, but his slightly trembling hands made a high-frequency clinking sound between the bottom of the cup and the plate, instantly revealing his inner turmoil. There's something I want to give you. Ruoyu had completely regained her composure. Brother Ju held the coffee and didn't move for a long time. Your parents don't mind, right? What does it have to do with them? Ruoyu replied. Besides, my room is on a different floor from theirs. If you quietly follow me up, they might not even know that you've been here. Something that can only be seen in your room. Brother Ju's cold sweat started to drip down his face. Yes. Ruoyu responded very calmly. Feng Bujue heard this and froze for 10 seconds. Then, he used his trembling hands to feed himself a mouthful of coffee. Can I ask? What is it? Ruoyu's eyes flashed with something. Here. Her cold voice flashed with a hint of shyness. It's not very convenient, hey? Feng Bujue roared in his heart. What kind of development is this? It doesn't seem like an act. From the moment you were teased by me to the moment you said, come home with me, what kind of psychological activity did you experience? On the other hand, Ruoyu was still talking. Well, strictly speaking, it's yours. I've been keeping it for you for many years. I think it's time to give it to you. Feng Bujue spat out a mouthful of coffee. Fortunately, he didn't spray it on Ruoyu's face. Instead, he sprayed it on the floor beside him. Hey, what are you doing? Ruoyu narrowed her eyes. Cough, cough, cough. Feng Bujue really did choke. He coughed violently. When he caught his breath, he said, no, it's nothing. He paused. By the way, why would you suddenly think of giving me that? You can't say that I suddenly thought of it, Ruoyu said. I wanted to give it to you for many years, but I didn't have the chance. When I first met you in Thriller Paradise, I had the urge to give it to you directly, but I hesitated and delayed it until now. From the beginning to the end, she spoke in a normal tone, but Feng Bujue was completely shocked. Ha! Ha ha! Brother Ju's lips twitched. He laughed drily. Fine. Since you've come to that realization, I'll accompany you to the end. Chapter 646. June 20th, 2000, 5 a.m. Feng Bujue logged into the game in sleeping mode. Huh? What did you say? Where's the continuation of the previous chapter? Oh, about that. The events from the afternoon to the night of June 19th will be discussed in the future, so I won't mention it here. Let's focus back on the game. By the way, Feng Bujue. All right, that's enough. Put down your middle finger, adjust your expression, and focus on your book. Back to the main topic. After Feng Bujue entered the login lobby, the first thing he did was to clear his mail. Recently, the number of strange and inexplicable harassing emails he received every day had basically stabilized in a range of 20 to 30. It seemed that this situation would not change in the short term. Feng Bujue was comforted by this. Other than that, it was worth mentioning that many new names have been added to his friend list. This was something that could not be helped. In this game, where one entered the scenario based on random cues, expanding one's social circle was unavoidable. For example, Feng Bujue knew Long Aomin and 7 kills. Therefore, when he played with these two, there was a high chance that he would run into other members of Blade Runner. Since they were in the same scenario, they would add each other as friends out of politeness, and Brother Ju naturally would not reject them. Using this as an example, Brother Ju also knew Blade Runner, Su Huaishang, Meng Jingchan, Shiva, Hong Hu, and so on. Even though some of these people had not been added as friends by Brother Ju, they could still contact Feng Bujue through various channels. After all, the circle of top players was only so big. There were only about 50 of them, and they could easily find you. Therefore, Feng Bujue's friend list grew just like that. Without realizing it, there were more and more IDs in his social circle, and almost all of them were top players. Of course, there were people like a Toby mixed in as well. Who would have thought that a strange player with a social disorder would become the player with the most connections in Thriller Paradise? He knew a bunch of superstars, the leaders of the two anomaly organizations, and various high-level existences in the main universe. It was not clear whether he was friend or foe, but to be able to reach this level, he was indeed quite capable. I've been too busy increasing my power recently, so I haven't had the time to enjoy myself. After dealing with the mail, Fong Bujua stretched lazily before the screen and mumbled, "I should enjoy myself while I can." Brother Ju's meeting with his teammates was at 1 a.m. He logged in 55 minutes earlier because he wanted to queue for a solo dungeon. It had to be said, humans were very contradictory creatures. When they were young, they wished they were. They were grown. When they were studying, they wished they were studying. When they were single, they wished they were married. When they were married, they wished they were single again. On this point, even Fong Bujua was not an exception. His current situation was, when he wanted to play a solo nightmare dungeon, he wished he could play a normal team dungeon. But after doing so many normal team dungeons, he realized that the solo nightmare dungeon was more fun. My baseball fist is about to reach level 4. Fong Bujua operated on the screen while thinking about what he could do in the scenario. I still need 2 more cards to complete the puzzle of the 12 Zodiac Temples. Listening to his rambling, the information gained was limited, so it was better for us to take a look at Brother Ju's new status. Title: Hate Collector. Title ability: Furnace of Hatred EXP. 129735504600000. Skill points: 248. Game coins: 1380100. Mastery. General ability A. Workmanship B. Sleuthing C. Fighting A. Marksmanship C. Medic D. Sorcery B. Summoning B. Inventory: 1320 SCP. 500, 120. Composite Anti-Gravity Gun, Bell of Jean Gang. Life Points Recovery Potion, AM. X5. Endless Grenade Magazine, WJQ. 308 Military Shovel. Indestructible Type. Damage Shroom X1. Trickery Pocket Watch. Blade of Mustbreak, Chuck. Norris's Razor. Oxygen Pipe. Bane's Blood X2. Sizzling Bear Equipment. Death Poker, Sorcery Weapon. Echo Armor. Artemis's Embrace. Alchemist King's Taunt. Void Walk. Phantom Madam's Caress Storage. October 15 Puzzle Card. Sheep X2. Puzzle Card Cow. Puzzle Card Scorpion. Puzzle Card Crab. Puzzle Card Fish. Puzzle Card Lion. Puzzle Card Twins. Puzzle Card Bow. An Arrow. Puzzle Card Bottle. Pokerman Hero ID Card. Skills Column. 1/12 Not So Hasty. Repair Spiritual Body Enhancement Technique. Demon King Flame. Killing Purgatory Summoning Technique. Misishijankaku Sandstorm Tri-Cannon Summon Technique. Ma Sun Wild Ball. Fist Devilish Child's Lower Whip. Kick Magical. Finger Unequipped Skills. Ice Alchemist Persistence. Southern Dipper Flying Dragon Fist. So, in conclusion, after this week, Brother Ju's character attributes had the following changes. He had reached level 46. He had spent 1 million game coins to expand his inventory to 20 slots. His workmanship, detection, sorcery, and summoning had all increased by 1 level. Items acquired through the trading house: 3 new puzzle cards that fit the theme of the Zodiac. The magic spiritual pivot, which was the key to the inner plane, had been consumed. There was only 1 piece of SCP, 500 left, and the number of Bane's blood had decreased by 2. Miss Moxie's bad temper, jazz dance, and the alchemy amplification device had all been consumed by the Type 0 Magic Crusher. These were the changes that could be seen at a glance. The last thing that needed to be mentioned was his new equipment and new skills. First was the masterpiece of the Type 0 Magic Crusher, Thundering Dragon. Note that these 2 words were not pronounced Flame Dragon, but Yida. Name: Thundering Dragon Type. Weapon Quality: Legendary Attack. Attribute: Special Effect. Depending on what is loaded, it will fire a magic cannon. Equip requirement: Level 45, Marksmanship B or Workmanship B Remark. It is said that this slingshot was created by a god. For some reason, he carved these words on the slingshot. Hey, your Thundering Dragon. No, it's your Thundering Dragon. Next was the ultimate skill that Feng Bujue had spent 20,000 skill points to buy from the thriller box name, telepathic finger skill card attribute. Active, permanent skill type. Fighting effect. Penetrate a steel wall with a single strike. Retreated with a two-fingered weapon. No cooldown. Consumption. 100 stamina points learning requirement. Fighting mastery Embark. Stars last night. Wind last night. West of the Painted Tower. East of the Osmanthus Hall. The body does not have the wings of a colorful phoenix, but our hearts are connected. Chapter 647. Counting from the day Thriller Paradise was released, the game had been running for 70 days already. Today, the level of the top players had already risen to around level 45. As for their specializations, equipment, and skill combinations, they had basically completed their training. Under normal circumstances, a player who was above average at this stage would have at least one main mastery that was level A and a secondary mastery that was no lower than level B. Other than that, the other mastery would be seen as secondary or not good at. Even though Feng Bujue's mastery level was higher than a normal player's, he met this standard as well. No matter what, a level C marksmanship mastery was definitely not something he was good at. Therefore, when he obtained Sizzling Cat, Feng Bujue stuffed Miss Moxie's bad temper into the disintegrator. Note: Brother Ju sent Miss Moxie's bad temper into the disintegrator after Sizzling Cat was created. Now he has moved on to the next piece of equipment. It was undeniable that Miss Moxie's bad temper was quite good in the early stages of the game. However, with Brother Ju's current ability, the practicality of an assault rifle was very low. If he had a marksmanship skill that was related to firearms, it would be a different story. Unfortunately, he did not. Other than that, Death Poker, Compound Anti-Gravity Gun, Rankyaku, and even Tri-Beam, they were all mid-range and long-range attacks. In terms of effect, from weak to strong, from point to point, they covered everything. In terms of accuracy, Death Poker had 100% accuracy, and the control of the other weapons was not bad either. Under such circumstances, he had obtained the legendary Slingshot, Siren, so there was no need for him to prepare another long-range weapon in his inventory. That was how Feng Bujue's equipment had changed. Next, there was the issue of skill allocation. Brother Ju had previously downloaded the consumable version of the Magic Beam Cannon and the permanent skill, Phantom 7 Feet, from V1eries. He had given them to Xiao Tan and Xiao Ling respectively. Needless to say, 1,000 Feet Phantom Shadow was a skill that could only be learned by 8B rank sleuth, and it was very suitable for a gunner like Xiao Ling who would be forced into a passive state when facing a strong enemy in close combat. Magic Beam Cannon was a very good trump card. Rather than leaving it in Brother Ju's skill slot, it was more reasonable to let Xiao Tan have it. This was Feng Bujue's choice of skills, including items and others. If he had no use for something, no matter how strong it was, he wouldn't hold it in his hands. What he wanted was a skill that was highly operable, highly profitable, and, best of all, strategically significant. For example, Telepathic Finger. The skill description for this skill was comparable to Mantra of Heaven and Earth Inversion. Only the two lines of words in the skill slot were easier to understand than Heaven and Earth Inversion, Heaven and Earth Inversion. Of course, for Feng Bujue, who had read a lot of poetry, Thunderbolt poetry, and books, wuxia novels, even without looking at the skill description, he knew the general effect of Telepathic Finger. Speaking of which, that day, when Brother Ju saw this skill inside the thriller box, he made the decision to buy it without hesitation. He spent more than 20,000 skill points without batting an eyelid. Fine, he blinked a few times. Fine, he almost cried, but that was not the main point. The main point was that Telepathic Finger was indeed worth that price. However, after obtaining this super powerful skill, Feng Bujue's skill slot became even more stretched. After some consideration, he removed Ice Alchemist dedication. This was because his 12 skills only involved 4 masteries: fighting, workmanship, sorcery, and summoning. The levels of these masteries were 1A and 3B, and the skill activation success rate was 100% and 190%. Some of them were non-combat skills, so he did not need the support of passive skills. It was worth mentioning that Brother Jew swapped out Devil's Inferno Scorch to replace Flying Dragon Fist. Since the attack style was similar, he chose the former, which was less powerful but had shorter consumption and cooldown time. Obviously, with his fighting mastery reaching level A, he had started to consciously increase the usage rate of his sorcery skills to train his sorcery mastery, which still had room for improvement. Alright, about Fong Bujua's new equipment and skill, as well as some other related stuff, that's all for now. I believe everyone can't wait any longer. So Fong Bujua, level 46, please select the game mode that you wish to join. You have selected single-player survival mode, Nightmare. Please confirm. Confirmed. Generating scenario. Downloading. Please wait a moment. Welcome to Thriller Paradise. A thick and unique male voice announced the opening of the scenario. Download complete. You're currently playing single-player survival mode, Nightmare. A scenario introduction is provided in this mode, and there's a chance of triggering hidden side missions and special world building. Reward for clearing the scenario. When the reward is calculated, you will gain 90% extra EXP from clearing the scenario. Playing the scenario introduction soon. The game will start immediately after that. Fong Bujua's body was not under his control. He was watching the opening cinematic from a first-person perspective. The scenery in front of him seemed to be an aerial shot of a helicopter. The blue sea, the warm sea breeze, the silver-white beach, the lush forest. The entire opening cinematic was like this, and it felt like some kind of tourism promotion. However, the scenario introduction of this nightmare mode was very shocking. This is the Carnabis Islands. A beautiful paradise, a dangerous wilderness. The voice of the narrator was the male voice from earlier. His voice sounded like the kind of narration commonly used in 4 movie trailers. It was low, powerful, and very provocative. 10 celebrities from all walks of life in America are about to embark on an adventure that they will never forget. What the hell is this? Could it be Survivor, a reality TV show? In this show, the participants are trapped in a specific environment and rely on limited tools to survive. They participate in a competition, and the final winner will win a prize of 1 million USD. Fong Bujua heard this and mumbled in his heart. That's right. Bankers, entrepreneurs, popular idols, rock singers, famous actors, they all come from different backgrounds, but they all have one thing in common. They just want to win. Fong Bujua said. They're all drug addicts. Hey, in the next 3 days, they will have to face the harsh challenge of their environment and their opponents at the same time. You'd better adjust your attitude before the challenge of life. Hey, only by conquering the environment can you get closer to your goal. Only by conquering your opponents can you surpass yourself. Compared to those, how about overcoming your drug addiction first? The program team has set up a small number of extremely hidden marijuana stashes on the island. Why would they set up something like that? Is this show run by a drug lord? The cost is quite high. With that in mind, Brother Jew suddenly realized something. Wait, what is the name of this island again? Carnabis, the same pronunciation as cannabis. How to find these stashes will be the key to victory. Use that as a stamina point supplement. The contestants must forget the comfortable life they are used to and quickly adapt to this wilderness, or else they will be eliminated. The eliminated contestants will face 6 months of forced drug, rehabilitation, and labor detention. What the F***CK is labor detention in America? This sentence seems a bit too harsh. In the end, only one person can stay and be unconditionally bailed out. Is this really okay? This is letting the tiger return to the mountain. 72 hours, 10 people, 1 survivor. In all senses of the word, they are all survivors. What you are watching now is the world's highest-rated reality show. I have no doubt about this. Fong Bujua responded to the narration one by one and complained in his heart. No matter which universe it is, the guy who came up with the idea of this show, the TV station who bought the copyright of this show, and the investor who invested in this show, they are all F***king amazing. Wild, seeking, poison. Chapter 648. Important note. All the names in this story have nothing to do with reality. There are no insinuations or reflections. If there are similarities, it is purely a spoof. Phone Bourgeois thought that the opening cinematic would end there, but it had just reached its climax. With a flash of the camera, the introduction of the contestants segment began. The first to appear on screen was a middle-aged man in a light blue shirt and black trousers. He was Caucasian and looked very patriotic. He had short brown hair and a pair of black eyes. He also wore a pair of glasses. Contestant number 1, William Henry Bill Block 3, a famous entrepreneur, philanthropist, and one of the best software engineers in the world. Following the narration of the narration, the overbearing and cool sound effects and subtitles were inserted, and the camera began to rotate 360 degrees around the contestants. He's a genius who does things his own way and is a maverick, but he's also a genius who's admired by tens of thousands. Will his IQ of more than 160 give him the upper hand on the island? What I'm interested in is, how did you get someone with an IQ of more than 160 onto this island? Phone Bourgeois complained in his mind. The next second, the screen switched to the introduction of the second contestant. It was also a Caucasian man who looked about 55 years old. He had gray hair and wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses. He was wearing an expensive dark blue suit with a shirt and tie inside and leather shoes on his feet. Contestant number 2, Warren Baxter, the world-renowned god of stocks, philanthropist, and investment master. Just like the previous contestants, the camera also rotated when he was introduced. He has a unique vision and is calm and experienced. His wisdom and investment is beyond the reach of the world. I don't know if this wisdom can make up for his lack of physical fitness and make him stand out among the 10 contestants. Hey, is this okay? It's just a name change. The basic setting is exactly the same as some of the super famous people in real life. Brother Jew's nagging didn't change anything. The contestant introduction continued, and the third person quickly appeared on screen. This was a female contestant who was also Caucasian. She was wearing a pair of hot pants and an off-the-shoulder white t-shirt with a black vest. Her facial features were sharp, her figure was sexy, and she had shoulder-length chestnut hair. Contestant number 3, Lindsay Arhut, Hollywood's queen of hot topics, movie, television, and singing star. She became famous at a young age, and her life experience far exceeded that of her peers. She once dominated the film industry and led the fashion trend. She also had a lot of negative news and became a controversial figure. Her sexiness and personality made her the focus of the audience. The viewers sure are vulgar, Brother Jew thought to himself. Speaking of which, the viewers who would watch a reality show like Man Seeking Poison, what kind of group are they? Contestant number 4, Justin Bieber, singer, actress, internet celebrity. The fourth contestant was a Caucasian young man who looked to be less than 20 years old. His face was feminine like a woman's, and his dark blonde hair was curled upwards. His brown eyes revealed an innocent look. He wore a white cotton vest that revealed some tattoos. He wore a pair of hip-hop style trousers that were pulled low. On his feet was a pair of white sneakers. He is a teen idol who has quickly become popular in recent years. He is praised by his fans as an artist who is handsome, has a clear and beautiful voice, has a talent for music and acting, and is overflowing with talent. Without a doubt, his high popularity and age advantage will be his most powerful weapons. As Phone Bourgeois laughed in his heart, the fifth contestant came into his sight. It was a balding, middle-aged Caucasian man with a big belly. His eyebrows revealed a decisive temperament, and his slightly protruding chin was very distinctive. His attire was a full tuxedo. Contestant number 5, Baron Solomon Scretchett. He is a member of the world-famous financial family, the Scretchett family. He is an outstanding banker and financial scientist. Hey, what does Bear mean? He is a King dead man. Not to mention, he is not a contemporary, and his nationality doesn't match either. He has outstanding diplomatic skills. He speaks with exquisite words and is skillful in flattery. A banker who dealt with Solomon once said, "No one left him without feeling refreshed." This talent may also become the key to his victory. I have serious doubts about this. Phone Bourgeois said, in a game where only one winner can be born, The relationship between people is nothing more than temporary mutual benefit. As long as both parties understand this, even if they don't have any diplomatic skills, they can still reach an agreement with one or more people. As Brother Bujue thought about this, the screen cut to the sixth contestant. Finally, there was a black man. He was also dressed in a suit and tie, and he had a buzz cut. Judging from his face, he was about 50 years old. He was not handsome, and his skin color was not pure African. He was probably mixed race or a soy sauce dealer. Contestant number 6, Balak Hussein Agwanhai. Lawyer, politician, former U.S. president. Hey, Fong Bujue was shocked. How did you catch this guy? Is a show made by aliens? From a rebellious teenager, to a law professor, to the President of the United States. He is a legend who changed his destiny by relying on hard work. He is also the only celebrity who took the initiative to participate in this show. Please wait and see what his performance will be like. Is a former president that lonely? Although I know that the President of the United States is very unpopular after he retired, and no one wants to assassinate him, but you don't have to look for trouble. Just as Brother Bujue was shocked by Agwanhai's appearance, another contestant came up. Contestant number 7, Osama Beep, Muhammad Beep, Awad Beep, F***CK, born in a construction and industrial family. This season's mysterious contestant. Mysterious my ass. Even the Shaolin monks know that you are the leader of Al-Qaeda. You even added 3 silencers to your name. How sharp. Brother Bujue looked at the thin Arabian bearded man on the screen and went completely crazy. He is handsome, has 5 beautiful and well-educated wives, more children than you can count with 2 hands, and more family assets than you can use to engage in various businesses. What kind of career? Isn't it just a terrorist organization? And what kind of introduction is this? It's so different from A.O. Guanhai's. This is a conspiracy by the U.S. media. Whether this mysterious contestant is a pampered person or an excellent soldier will soon be revealed. After the introduction of contestant number 7, it was time for the 8th contestant. Contestant number 8, Ismail Gu, graduated from the International Finance Department, handsome and noble second-generation son of a rich family. Accompanied by the narration, an Asian man appeared on the stage. He was similar to contestant number 4. He was a handsome young man, but he was a few years older. He had peach-shaped bangs and wore a casual suit. He was handsome and slightly taller than contestant number 4. He is a golden bachelor, the object of admiration of countless girls. Caught in a scandal, he was quickly forgiven by all sectors of society. However, some relevant people around him, several government law enforcement agencies, and even some drug-related bills were questioned and criticized. With his excellent comprehensive ability, he is regarded as the most popular winner of this season. Compared to the average person, he is undoubtedly a winner with a fulfilling life. Fong Bujue read. But coming on the stage right after number 7, he feels like an ordinary young man. Contestant number 9, Stephen Carbon, an award-winning U.S. best-selling author. He has written scripts, written columns, worked as a film director, producer, and actor. Number 9 was also a white man who looked to be in his 40s. He looked as patriotic as Bill Geiger. He wore a long-sleeved t-shirt and suit pants. As one of the most influential writers of this generation, he is known as the master of horror. Obviously, he is no stranger to thrilling things. The balance of intelligence and physique gives him considerable competitiveness in the game. Carbon, is it? If Fong Bujue could control his body, his expression would be twitching like a dead fish. Can you be any more worthless? Contestant number 10, John Winston Abscess. Rock star, the soul of the band Splinter, poet, social activist, and anti-war. The last contestant entered the stage. He was also Caucasian and looked to be in his 30s. He had light brown eyes and brown hair. He had a messy hairstyle and a large beard. He wore a vintage suit. Like many artists, Abscess has embarked on the path of drug abuse and does not care about it. He has created many legends in the music industry. Will he be able to create a legend in our show? Just based on these 10 incredible contestants, this show is already a legend. Fong Bujue said, Oh, whatever. Anyway, this introduction is about to end. Indeed, this might be the longest script introduction Brother Jew had ever read, but it was not over yet. Bang! With a burst of fire, the coolest scene in the opening cinematic appeared. A muscular man in a wilderness survival suit appeared in the middle of the screen. The narrator then said, and I, Bell Eat You Clam Moss, will be the referee and host of this competition. I will supervise and guide the contestants to complete the challenge and lead them to victory. Are you sure you don't treat these 10 people as prey? Now, everyone, please follow my footsteps and enter this ultimate game that will last for 3 days, seeking poison in the wilderness. Chapter 649. That was the end of the introduction. At that moment, the scenery before Phone Buju had changed, and at the same time, he regained control of his body. What the hell? When Brother Jew regained consciousness, he felt uncomfortable because his whole body was buried in the sand, and only his head was poking out of the sand. Random loading has been completed. You are playing the role of number 9, Stephen Carbon. The system announcement came at the right time. Even if I'm Carbon, there's no need to bury me, right? Phone Bujuet complained, but he did not forget to exert his strength to crawl out from the sand. But, important hint, your equipment, inventory, skill bar, and sorcery weapon have been locked. Your basic physical fitness will mimic Stephen Carbon's standard. Another limitation? Fine. In any case, when I chose the solo nightmare, I was already prepared for this. Phone Bujuet gave up struggling because he knew it was a waste of energy. Look on the bright side. At least the character I'm playing is not bad physically. Obviously, when Brother Jew was watching the introduction, he had already considered the question of role-playing. He knew that the system would not allow a male player to use the body of a female celebrity, Luohan, and it would not allow him to play the role of the judge and host, Clamwells. Therefore, he had to be one of the remaining 9. Now that he had been randomly selected as Stephen Carbon, it was good news. From the introductory cinematic, Stephen Carbon was around 40 years old. He was of average build and did not have any obvious disabilities. He had a good physique. Important hint too. In this scenario, stamina points will be depleted due to hunger, thirst, fatigue, and pain. Similar to the situation at Devil's Maw Island, I'll need to find a way to alleviate it. Phone Bujuet said after hearing that. In any case, the most important thing now is to get out of this place. Even so, Brother Jew really had no other choice. With his current physical fitness, it was impossible for him to escape on his own without the aid of items or skills. Hey, Stephen, it seems like you've run into some trouble. Suddenly, a voice sounded. The voice came from behind Phone Bujuet. As Brother Jew couldn't turn his head around, he could only turn his face slightly and look at the other party from the corner of his eyes. Bell. Brother Jew did not see the person clearly, but based on the figure and voice, he was sure that it was Clamwells. Yes, it's me. As Clamwells spoke, he went around to Brother Jew and squatted down to face him. Buddy, the feeling of sunbathing isn't bad, right? Not so good. Phone Bujuet's acting skills came online. He put on an expression that was between nervousness and seriousness, and said what a normal person would say. I think I'll be dehydrated soon if this goes on. That's right, the sand on the beach. Clamwells replied as he grabbed a handful of sand in front of Brother Jew. It's exposed to the sun every day, so the temperature is very high. In severe cases, it may burn the skin. When he said this, he didn't look at Brother Jew at all. Instead, he looked at the camera lens that was following closely behind him. The level of technology in this universe seemed to be very high. At this time, the camera that was filming Brother Jew and Clamwells was not carried by anyone. Instead, it was in a hovering state. It was similar to the technology used by the Bruce and his gang in the script of I, the Clown. Why the hell are you trying to explain to the audience at a time like this? Phone Bujuet said in his mind. Brother Jew also saw the hovering machine, but he didn't show any surprise. It wasn't strange for such a thing to appear in the game world. Okay, I think the audience doesn't want to see you quit at the beginning of the game, Clamwells said as he removed the large backpack on his back. Then he reached out to dig at the sand around Brother Jew's neck. "Let me give you a hand, buddy." Before he finished, he had already dug up a large pile of sand with his bare hands. In less than 3 minutes, he had dug up all the sand above Brother Jew's chest and used 2 strong arms to pull him out of the sand. "Are you okay, Stephen? Are you okay?" Clam Wells asked in a relaxed tone after doing all this under the hot sun. He didn't even take a breath. "I'm fine." Phone Bujua pretended to be grateful and replied, "Thank you, Belle. You're welcome." "This is my duty," Clam Wells replied. "Guide and supervise. Do you still remember?" "Yes, I remember." Phone Bujua didn't say too much and gave the most basic answer. Brother Jew had interacted with many different types of NPCs in many different scenarios, so he knew very well that in this situation, he should speak less and listen more. "Let me see, long-sleeve t-shirt, suit pants, leather shoes." Clam Wells started to study Brother Jew's attire. As he did so, he commented, "Do you think you're here for a vacation, Stephen?" Clam Wells' action was undoubtedly a performance. As a member of the show, he naturally knew what the contestants were wearing when they came to the island. He was just doing his routine. "No, Phone Bujue understood this kind of trick used in reality shows. He purposely made an awkward expression and stuttered half a sentence. "Never mind. At this point, you'll have to wear these to conquer the wilderness before you." Clam Wells interrupted him and turned to open his backpack. "Every time you meet Belle, you can use him to retrieve 1 item from your inventory. Multiple consumables stacked in the same inventory will be removed." At that second, the system announcement appeared before Brother Jew's eyes. "You know the rules, Stephen." Clam Wells squatted next to the backpack and rummaged through it. "Tell me, which survival item do you wish to take from me? For a normal person, this setting should be a test. Because the inventory in the game menu was locked, the players could not see what was inside their backpack. In other words, the players had to rely on their memory to pick the item that they needed. But for Phone Bujue, this was a piece of cake. "I want the WJQ 308 military shovel." He only had 13 items in his backpack. Even if there were 23 or 33 items, he could give the answer immediately. "Oh, that's a very good choice. If it were me, I would choose that as well." Clam Wells quickly took the shovel out from the backpack and passed it to Brother Jew. Then, he lowered his head to look at his watch. "It's now the first day. It's 12:10 a.m. The competition has been going on for 10 minutes. He paused and glanced at the camera. "Stephen, are you ready to hear your first hint?" Chapter 650. "Yes, I'm ready," Phone Bujua replied with a straight face. "Okay, listen up. The first hint for you is," Clam Wells continued, "you have the right to remain silent." Before he could finish, the system notification popped up. "Main mission has been triggered." At the same time, the contents of the main mission appeared in the mission panel, and there were 2 of them. "Survive on Carnabas Island for 72 hours. Complete at least 6 of the challenges given by the program team." "Do I need to repeat myself, Stephen?" "Stephen," said Clam Giles. "No, I heard you very clearly," Phone Bujua replied. "Very good," Clam Will said. "Then, I should be going." As he spoke, he closed his backpack and put it back on. "Good luck, Stephen." After saying this, he turned around and ran along the beach. "Goodbye, Belle." Phone Bujua looked at the back of Clam Wills and shouted. Clam Wills did not turn back. He only raised one arm and waved, as a gesture to Brother Jew. He ran very fast, as if he was not affected by the sand at all. In less than a minute, he turned a corner along the edge of the island and disappeared from Brother Jew's sight. "This guy, is he really human?" The next second, Brother Jew's eyes slowly moved down and finally fixed on an oval depression on the beach. That was where Clam Wills had placed his backpack. He just placed the backpack very lightly on the beach, and the pressure created such a depression. Brother Jew said as he squatted down and reached out to touch the sand at the bottom of the depression. The pressure is more solid than I thought." As he said this, Brother Jew raised his head and looked at the footprints left behind by Clam Wills on the beach. At the very least, he should be carrying no less than 30 kilograms. As he said this, he stood up and swatted away the remaining sand on his body. The sun is hot above his head, and he rescued me in an environment of over 40 degrees Celsius. Then, he calmly carried a backpack that is tens of kilograms and ran away with light steps. He suddenly laughed. Ah, his physical fitness is at least above a level 30 gamer. Thinking about this, Feng Bujue did not stop moving. As he thought about this, he had already started to jog toward the forest by the beach. The forest was very dense. At a glance, one could see the lush vegetation and scaly rocks. The sun shone through the canopy and embellished the dark forest with countless spots of light. Phew! It's still cooler under the shade of a tree. After Feng Bujue came to the edge of the forest, he sat down with his back against a tree. He did not hurry to enter the forest. Instead, he removed his shoes and socks and carefully shook the sand off them. He understood that the journey ahead was still long. If he could make his feet as comfortable as possible, it would at least lessen the fatigue that came with the trek. Currently, it is unclear what the purpose of the hint is and what the actual challenge is. The scenario synopsis did not mention. Brother Ju mumbled to himself as he put on his shoes. But the main mission of the challenge has to be incredibly difficult, because the mission to survive for 72 hours is too easy. Even if I do nothing and just sit here for 3 days, I might not die. His speculation was correct. In this show, if the contestant only wanted to survive until the time limit was up, it was not that difficult. Theoretically speaking, as long as the contestant stayed in a relatively safe place and used their shoes to collect their own urine, they could survive for 3 days. Of course, that was the stupidest and most passive way of doing things. So far, no one had done something like that. After all, this was a show. There were still and moving cameras everywhere on the island. Private footage would naturally be edited out or censored in the later stages. The big shots who were caught to participate in the show were all reputable figures. They wouldn't go so far as to finish the competition like this. Wait a minute. What is going on? Feng Bujue put on his shoes and was about to stand up when he noticed something horrible. I've been under the sun for more than 10 minutes, and I've lost 1,500 stamina points. Brother Ju looked at the game menu with disbelief. He would always check his remaining stamina points before he made a move, and now it looked like that was a good habit. TSK. If that's the case, Brother Ju quickly calmed down and said, the actual number of stamina points is meaningless. Not only physical fitness, even my stamina points are calculated based on Stephen Carbon's actual condition, so the deduction is based on a percentage. Now that he thought about it that way, everything made sense. If a normal person was buried in hot sand and baked under the sun for more than 10 minutes, it would be normal for them to lose 1/3 of their stamina points. Other than that, what is with this status? Feng Bujue asked. Obviously, other than the expected loss of stamina points, there were other weird settings in this scenario. For example, there was a strange debuff hanging on Brother Ju's status bar, and it was called withdrawal response. It was just that one word, and there was no explanation or explanation. Compared to the status effects like poison, bleeding, and bone fracture, this was more interesting. If this refers to the withdrawal response to drugs, then I might. Feng Bujue was still thinking about the symptoms of drug addiction when a stream of mucus slid down his nose. Thankfully, he had already stood up, and his head was slightly tilted forward, or else this big snot would have landed on his clothes. What the F***CK? Brother Ju saw this and instinctively bent forward. He gasped internally. Hey, he just came out like that without realizing it. In reality, the withdrawal response debuff had been there since the beginning of the scenario, and its effects were quite varied. For example, pain all over the body, fever, sweating, dilated pupils, and so on. However, the hot environment covered up some of the symptoms, so Feng Bujue did not notice them in time. So that's how it is. Several seconds later, Feng Bujue's face turned serious. So, it's the search for drugs in the wilderness and not for life. He wiped away the mucus and wiped his hands on the tree trunk beside him. To ease the drug addiction, one has to find a hiding spot for the marijuana. To find a hiding spot for the marijuana, one has to enter the island. Then, one has to expend a lot of stamina, and one has to think and make decisions while one is in a trance. This is harder than simple survival. While he was thinking, he picked up the military shovel and moved into the forest. If one puts in so much effort and stamina, but comes up with nothing, then, under the influence of drug addiction, one is capable of doing anything. Chapter 651. If a human wanted to survive in the wilderness, other than the most basic physical condition, there were a few other things that were required. First, a healthy body. Second, a strong psychological endurance. Third, enough survival knowledge. Only those who had these three things were qualified to compete with Mother Nature in the harsh environment. And the character that Phong Bujue was playing did not fit these requirements. The second and third requirements were nothing for Brother Ju. His mentality and intelligence were his own, but the problem lay in the first requirement, a healthy body. Phong Bujue originally thought that the people who participated in this show would not have reached the stage of addiction, but after experiencing it in person, he understood drug addicts would not be able to survive in the wilderness. Even if they were allowed to stay in a relatively comfortable and civilized world, they would not be able to do anything. Phew. What the F asterisk CK? At that moment, Phong Bujue was gasping for air as he staggered through the forest. I've been walking for 20 minutes, and I've only covered this distance. He glanced at the game menu. But my stamina points have dropped by 1,000 points. Brother Ju leaned against a tree and gasped. Phew! My stamina is weaker than a normal person, and it is much weaker. He shook his head. The worst thing is this withdrawal reaction won't stop. As he said that, he yawned, and at the same time, tears and saliva flowed down his face. Phew! Brother Ju spat out the unknown salty liquid in his mouth and used his sleeve to wipe his face. Phew! This can't go on. It's getting more and more uncomfortable. Dizziness, chills, and fever. I can endure those, but the soreness in my limbs is slowly turning into numbness, and the nausea in my stomach is progressing toward pain. This is not a good sign, and the large amount of sweat. This will cause the loss of water. Phong Bujue understood that he had two choices. One was to rest where he was and use his willpower to push through this wave of withdrawal. Two was to find something that could relieve the pain on his body as soon as possible. Even though I want to take the initiative, Brother Ju's vision was getting blurry, but he tried his best to look around, trying to find some clues. But there are no clues around here. Just as he was about to sit down, suddenly rustle. Two animal growls came from the forest. Phong Bujue did not dare to be careless, and he immediately turned to the source of the sound. However, the things that entered his line of sight made him wonder if he was hallucinating because of his drug addiction. Tap! Tap! The animal slowly moved its hooves and walked past Brother Ju. It did not have any interest in the human not far away, nor did it have the slightest hint of fear. You must be kidding. Phong Bujue thought he was seeing things, and he quickly rubbed his eyes. But it turned out that he was not mistaken. The animal that walked past him was actually a zebra. Once found in South Africa, it became extinct in 1883. Its whole body was brown, no different from a normal horse, except for the zebra stripes on its head, neck, and shoulders. What kind of horse is this? Brother Ju knew very little about this extinct animal, and he had never seen it before. He complained in his heart, "This horse family is really messy." While he was thinking, he picked up the military shovel, quietly circled behind the horse, and slowly approached. "Brother Ma, don't blame me." Phong Bujue whispered to himself, "After I get rid of you, I will have enough food for the next 3 days. If I can solve the food problem at the beginning of the competition, it will undoubtedly give me a big advantage. And the extra food can be used as a bargaining chip." As he spoke, he was already 2 meters away from his prey. Just as Brother Ju was about to make his move, but before he could, the zebra suddenly seemed to notice something. In the next second, it raised its head, neighed, and started to run. The 350 kilograms guy ran away at lightning speed, turned around, and ran through the forest. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. Only the sound of its hooves could be heard. At this moment, Fong Bujue suddenly realized what he just did was extremely dangerous. If he didn't succeed in his first attack, considering the physique of a drug addict, this possibility was quite high, and instead hurt or angered the beast that was 4 times heavier than a human, then he would be in big trouble. Being knocked over or bitten would be considered a light injury. But if the horse turned around and kicked him, he would probably die on the spot. This is not good. Brother Ju covered his forehead with one hand and tried to adjust his breathing. It seems that the withdrawal reaction has affected my thinking. At this point, Fong Bujue realized the real horror of the withdrawal reaction. The symptoms not only cause discomfort on the surface, but also on the neurological level. For example, in the 3 minutes just now, Fong Bujue's memory and behavior were interfered. His brain's memory, attention, calculation, and judgment were all temporarily reduced. His thinking became slow and dull, accompanied by the phenomenon of memory confusion. This led to, during that time, he subconsciously thought that he still had unrestricted fighting ability. Therefore, he picked up the military shovel and wanted to kill the horse without thinking, of course, the thought interference effect of the withdrawal reaction would disappear. This debuff was actually very interesting. It was random, phased, and uncertain. Although it included all the symptoms of a drug addiction, these effects would not all take effect at once. Anyway, every few minutes to 10 minutes, the debuff's effect would change. As for how it would change, only God knew. When the next change occurred, it might only have the loss of appetite effect left, but it was also possible that 7 or 8 effects would take effect at the same time, just like what Brother Ju was experiencing now. If that's the case, I can't stop and rest. Fong Bujue thought for about a minute and decided to continue moving forward. I have to find a place to hide the marijuana as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'll become an idiot. He did not know that the debuff had a change effect. He only thought that the situation would worsen further. Therefore, Brother Ju forced himself to stay alert and tried his best to focus as he staggered deeper into the forest. After walking for another 5 minutes, his stamina points had dropped to 173444600. The effect of the withdrawal reaction also refreshed at this time. What's going on? After walking for a while, I feel much better. Fong Bujue, who was freed from the mental interference, soon noticed this. Could it be the effect of this debuff? What the F***CK? At that moment, it was not a sudden realization, but a sudden stench that interrupted his train of thought. A dead body. That was Fong Bujue's first reaction. His reaction represented the reaction of most players. For players who had spent some time in Thriller Paradise, they had the ability to recognize the smell of dead bodies and blood instantly, be it in-game or in real life. In a way, they had mastered a new skill. This is great. Brother Ju was overjoyed when he smelled the stench. He picked up his pace and ran toward the source of the stench. As he expected, he found a dead body next to a large tree about 10 meters away. It was a male body. He was only wearing a pair of underpants and a pair of handcuffs around his wrists. By then, the decomposition of the body was quite serious, and the flesh showed signs of having been gnawed on by animals. Death by asphyxiation, green spots of decay, bloated abdomen, no human footprints nearby. When Fong Bujue inspected the body, many pieces of information flashed in his mind, and they were turned into puzzle pieces by his instinct. 2 types of bite marks, coyotes, unknown creatures, scavengers. In less than 10 seconds, Brother Ju had completed his preliminary investigation of the crime scene. He spat with displeasure. TSK. The weather is too hot, and the body has been damaged by animals. Now, it's hard to tell the time and cause of death. Then he could not help but think, sigh, if only Xiao Tan was here. After all, he's a professional. Wait a minute. 2 seconds later, Fong Bujue was startled. Humph, why am I analyzing that? This is a television show. With that in mind, he was enlightened. The whole island is under the surveillance of the program team, and everything on the island is naturally arranged by the program team. After figuring that out, Brother Jew re-examined the dead body before him, and as expected, he found something. Ah, I see. No wonder there are only footprints of wild beasts around here, but not his own. His expression changed slightly. This body was transported here, and those who transported it had already cleaned up their footprints before they left. Then what is the purpose of the program team to leave a male body here? The message they want to send to the contestants is, Fong Bujue used his fingers to touch his forehead and nose. The body's posture is obviously meaningless. When they left the body here, they should have known that it would be turned over by the animals. He paused and said, based on this train of thought, tattoos, words and blood, and carving out flesh to provide clues are undoubtedly unreliable. After all, no one can predict where the animal will bite. Finally, Fong Bujue's eyes locked onto two things, underpants and handcuffs. Chapter 652. This pair of underwear, sure, is suspicious. Fong Bujue looked at the lower half of the body. Is this the last piece of cloth that the creator left behind for the victim? Or is it a container to hide some kind of clue? He stroked his chin. If there really is a clue, should it be to test the contestants' moral bottom line, or to test their tolerance for disgusting things? While Brother Jew was thinking, he leaned forward and squatted down. But when he reached out to remove the underwear, he realized he couldn't reach his hand out. Fong Bujue was shocked. He tried again, but it still didn't work. Oh, 2 seconds later, he relaxed and said, the system must have stopped me. He guessed right. The system defined his attempt as an act of obscenity, so he couldn't do anything about it. Very good. Brother Jew smiled. This means that there are no clues in there. In a sense, Brother Jew should be thankful. If there wasn't a system boundary, then he would have to personally check it to confirm this matter. So, the clue is the handcuffs. Fong Bujue then moved his gaze up to the wrist of the body. Let me take a look. He grabbed the hand without hesitation and raised it to his eyes for a closer look. After a few seconds, he said, there's nothing special about it. Then, Brother Jew put down the arm and turned the body over. He wanted to see if there was anything hidden under the body, but there was only some scattered rotten flesh and a large number of maggots. Fong Bujue's eyes lit up when he saw the maggots. His appetite was aroused. The next second, Brother Jew turned around and ran excitedly to a bush not far away. For some reason, he stared at the bush as if he was looking at a menu in a restaurant. About 10 seconds later, Brother Jew bent down to grab a handful of grass and returned to the body. Not bad. Not bad. Now we have both vitamin C and protein. As he mumbled, he reached out to grab a handful of maggots and placed them between the grass. Then, as if he was eating a lettuce salad, he opened his mouth wide and took a big bite, chewing loudly. Not bad. After swallowing, Brother Jew said self-deprecatingly, at least it's better than the sandwich I had before. Just as he was savoring his masterpiece with great relish, a scream came from behind him. This time, it was a human scream. Fong Bujue's expression changed. He immediately adjusted his posture and stood up. He picked up the military shovel and got into a fighting stance. But it turned out that he didn't need to be so nervous, because the person who screamed was about 10 meters away from him. Are you eating the flesh of a dead person? It turned out that the person who screamed was another contestant, Justin Bubo. A few seconds ago, Bubo, who was passing by, happened to catch a glimpse of Brother Jew's back. So, he decided to quietly approach and check out the situation. When he saw Stephen Carbon squatting next to a corpse and making a very clear chewing sound, he was naturally shocked. So it's you. After Fong Bujue saw the person clearly, he hesitated for half a second. Then he smiled and said, "What did you say? Eating a dead person? How is that possible?" He raised his left hand and showed the milk straw maggots on his hand and replied, "It's weeds and worms." Phew! God! Bubo let out a long sigh, and the expression on his face relaxed a lot. "You scared me to death, Mr. Carbon." After confirming that Brother Jew wasn't a cannibal, Bubo walked over leisurely. But Bubo quickly walked in front of Brother Jew and continued, "No matter what you eat, there's no need to squat next to a corpse, right? The worms are right next to the corpse. I don't think there's a need to deliberately change the location." Fong Bujue replied as if nothing had happened. At the same time, he stuffed a big mouthful of his self-made roll into his mouth. Ugh. Bubo was far away just now, so he didn't see clearly. At this moment, he noticed that the thing in Brother Jew's hand was a live maggot wrapped in weeds. Sigh. Young people nowadays. Fong Bujue used a condescending gaze to look at Fu Shu Meng, who was puking, and said in a serious tone, "You vomit at the sight of a few bugs. How useless." After Bubo finished vomiting, he felt better. He immediately straightened up and said, "Of course I won't vomit when I see worms. But it's different when you see a person eating a live maggot." Justin. Fong Bujue was still eating, and he seemed to be enjoying it. "Young man, you have to understand that if you want to survive in this wilderness, you have to get used to things like this." He smacked his lips and spat out some food residue. When you let go of the prejudice of city people, you will find that there are delicious food everywhere. "Are you sure this counts as delicious food?" Bubo covered his nose and replied with a disgusted face. "Relatively speaking, the taste of maggots is very good among insects, and the protein content is high." Brother Jew was like a teacher giving a lecture to a student. He said methodically, "The taste is sweet with a hint of astringency. Together with the sour taste of the weeds, it is undoubtedly a fresh delicacy." Ugh. Bubo listened to this description and vomited again. Fong Bujue was still talking nonstop. "As for the taste, maggots that grew up eating rotten meat are fatter than those that grew up eating feces. The quality of the meat is also okay." "That's enough." Bubo interrupted Brother Jew with a look of panic. "Mr. Carbon, I understand what you mean. Please stop talking." "Okay." Fong Bujue shrugged non-committally and finished the last bite. Then he tilted his head and gestured to the corpse behind him. He changed the topic and asked, "What do you think?" "What do you mean, what do I think?" Bubo was stunned. "That's a corpse. What else can I think?" "Ha!" Fong Bujue sneered at Bubo's reaction. He lowered his head and played with the military shovel in his hand. Then he asked, "All right, what was the hint you got?" Ugh. Bubo's expression changed suddenly. He hesitated for a while before he replied, "I don't think I can give that to you, Mr. Carbon." "Well, that's understandable." Brother Jew nodded. "After all, this is a competitive program. It's not good to give exclusive information to the opponent." Bubo heard this and was obviously stunned. "Well, you're right," he replied woodenly. "Anyway," Fong Bujue looked back at the corpse again. "I want to study this corpse." He squatted next to the corpse. "How about you stand there and wait for me for a while?" Mr. Carbon." Bubo looked at Brother Jew's back and hesitated for a few seconds. "Actually, I was just passing by. I thought I'd say hi to you. I think I should go. Oh, goodbye." Fong Bujue waved his hand without looking back. "Good luck." "Goodbye, Mr. Carbon." Bubo looked at Brother Jew strangely one last time before he silently turned around and left the place. After the sound of his footsteps faded away, Fong Bujue's lips curled up into a cold smile. "This kid is quite alert, isn't he?" Brother Jew stood up and looked in the direction that the man had left. "Unfortunately, he is still not my match." At first glance, the events that happened in the past few minutes seemed calm, but in fact, there was an undercurrent. First of all, the moment he saw Justin Bubo, Brother Jew had seen that he had just smoked marijuana. Even though Bubo had only smoked a small amount, his slightly trembling hands and slightly absent-minded eyes could not be hidden. Based on this situation, Fong Bujue speculated. Bubo had at least found a hiding place of marijuana, and it was very likely that he had not consumed all of the stock. In other words, he still had some marijuana on him. Therefore, Brother Jew had the idea of attacking him. When Brother Jew said, "So, it's you," he had already constructed every step of the plan in his mind. How to lure the man over, how to make the man lower his guard, how to knock him out, how to break his legs, and so on. However, when Bubo came in front of Brother Jew, Brother Ju gave up on the plan of attack, because he realized his opponent also wanted to attack him. As long as he observed calmly, he could see that Bubo, who appeared to be slightly relaxed on the surface, was actually very alert. From the beginning to the end, he kept a certain distance from Brother Ju, and his right hand was always hidden behind his back. Obviously, there was something hidden behind his back, most likely a knife or something, ready to strike at any time. Then, the two of them engaged in a casual conversation. Both of them had good acting skills. One of them chewed on maggots and chewed on grass, making it difficult to understand. The other pretended to be helpless, and even used 2 dry heaves to hide his true intention of keeping a distance from the other. Not long after, Fong Bujue took the initiative to attack. He asked, "What do you think?" to test the other party. Bubo continued to play dumb. Fong Bujue scoffed and waved the military shovel again. He used this expression and action to send a message to the man. "I've seen through you a long time ago. If you want to make a move, I will be prepared." Then Brother Ju asked, "What was the hint that you got?" Using that as an excuse, he pointed out something else. "I also know that you found the marijuana." Now it needs to be explained. How did this question express the meaning of the latter sentence? It was like this. While he was talking with Bubo about the taste of maggots, Fong Bujue was also thinking about the corpse behind him. It was in those few seconds that he understood the meaning of his hint. In fact, the clue on the male corpse was the handcuffs. Of course, there was nothing special about the handcuffs, as Fong Bujue had already confirmed. The real function of the handcuffs was symbolic. It symbolized the arrested person. This clue, combined with the first hint Brother Ju received, "You have the right to remain silent," pointed to the hiding place of the marijuana in the mouth of the corpse. At this point, Fong Bujue's deduction was not over. He boldly made a hypothesis and then came up with a few other possible conclusions. First, there was a hiding place of marijuana near the starting point of each contestant. Second, the hiding place was about 1 kilometer away from the starting point of the contestant. Third, even though the hiding place was relatively easy to find, the marijuana hidden there was very well hidden. Fourth, the first hint pointed to the marijuana in the hiding place closest to each contestant. Even though it was impossible to be 100% sure, Fong Bujue believed that the probability of these 4 scenarios being true was very high. Objectively speaking, the program team could use this arrangement to allow the contestants to quickly get used to the game and get some marijuana to ease the withdrawal effects for a long time. If these 4 scenarios were not true, then it was very likely that the 10 contestants would fall to the ground and struggle not long after the game started. For a reality show, this kind of opening was a bit too ugly. This was the correlation between the hint and the marijuana hiding place. Then, following the previous content and looking at Bubo's reaction, after being repeatedly threatened by Fong Bujue, Bubo's expression changed. He hesitated for a moment and gave a response of rejection. Notice that Bubo said, "I don't think I can give that to you, not I don't think I can tell you that." So, on the surface, it sounded like he was saying hint, but in reality, he was referring to marijuana. There was no doubt that at this point, the two of them were already in a state of tacit hostility. And in this situation, Brother Bujue gave a meaningful response. After all, this is a competitive show. It's not good to give your exclusive information to your opponent. This sentence was basically declaring the bottom line. If you don't steal from me, I won't steal from you. Bubo naturally understood the meaning behind those words. He could only reply, "You're right," as a sign of compromise. With this, their conversation came to an end. Fong Bujue took the opportunity to say a few words of nonsense and returned to the corpse, where his marijuana was hidden, squatting down and asking, "Why don't you stand there and wait for me for a while?" What he meant was, "How long are you going to stay here before you leave?" Bubo listened to him and tactfully accepted the eviction order. He casually said a few words and left the place. In conclusion, this was the truth behind a few minutes of conversation between Fong Bujue and Justin Bubo. The NPCs in this scenario are so impressive. Fong Bujue mumbled to himself as he used his hand to pry open the dead body's mouth. Earlier, Bella's already shown amazing physical prowess, and this Justin Bubo is so cunning. He found the marijuana faster than I did, and after he found it, he did not use it in large quantities due to his addiction. He only used the smallest amount that could alleviate his symptoms. Then he came to the conclusion of the 4 points that I thought of and stopped moving toward the island. He changed his route to take the circular route, hoping to rob other people of their initial stash of marijuana. Such intelligence. Even a player would not be able to. Whoa. His thoughts were once again interrupted by the stench. This time, it was the gas that came out from the corpse's mouth. What the F***CK? Fong Bujue could not help but curse under his breath because the stench deducted 4% of his life points. To make things worse, when he finally pried open the corpse's mouth, he realized the man's upper and lower jaws were sewn together by many iron wires, and the gap between the 2 rows of teeth could only be separated by a finger's width. It looked like the production team was afraid that the dead body's mouth would open on its own or be bitten open by a beast, so they came up with this solution with great foresight. TSK. That's so unprofessional. If they wanted to sew, they should have done it perfectly. Why did they purposely leave a gap to let the stench escape? Fong Bujue grumbled unhappily. Then he picked up the military shovel and adjusted its structure. The WJQ 308 military shovel could be modified to a certain extent to achieve different effects. He tried to use the military shovel's clamp function to snap the iron wires. However, it did not go so well because the iron wires that were stuck between the teeth were not that easy to clamp down on. Therefore, Brother Jew, who had inhaled too much of the stench, switched to the military shovel's hammer function. He smashed the dead body's 2 rows of teeth and used a more violent method to obtain the marijuana in the corpse's mouth. Name: marijuana *2, item type, consumable quality, normal function. When used alone, it can suppress the withdrawal effect for a certain amount of time. When used in combination, it will grant a corresponding random buff. Can be taken out of the scenario. No remark. If you do not wish to become an idiot like Randy, it is best if you do not touch it. The 2 marijuana cigarettes were placed inside a small plastic bag. There was a layer of wax on the outside, so they were perfectly preserved. Other than that, Fong Bujue found something else inside the wax. Name: handcuff key, item type, tool quality, normal function. Open the handcuffs can be taken out of the scenario. No remark. What? You're asking which handcuffs it can open? Which one could it be? Buddy, are you a Virgo? Perfect. Fong Bujue immediately used the key to open the handcuffs on the dead body. Perhaps this will come in handy. Name: handcuffs, item type, tool quality, normal function. Do as you see fit. Can be taken out of the scenario. No remark. Since you have read the item description, it means that you have already obtained the key. Okay, the problem now is... Brother Jew shoved a few items into his pocket and stood up. Who should I go and borrow a lighter from? He also knew that if there was really no other way, he could just eat the marijuana directly, but right now his withdrawal reaction was in a relatively weak period, so he couldn't wait to use it. I should walk for a while first. Fong Bujue took a deep breath and decided to leave this place to prevent another player with the same mentality as Bubo from showing up. However, what he did not know was that at that moment, a pair of eyes had been watching him from the dark. His and Bubo's every move earlier had been observed by that person. Chapter 653. Dear viewers, it's time for another chapter at the beginning of the month. Today, I have great news for everyone. Due to the fact that there are a lot of sensitive words in the early morning chapter, I originally planned to update at 23:59 p.m. on the 31st, but it was stopped by the system's automatic review program. Therefore, with only 1 month left before settlement, I failed to get paid for the 5th time. Therefore, until now, all the subscription fees that you have paid will be refunded to your account. It feels like a lot of Chidian coins, dead fish eyes. Of course, this is not good news for me. It's just another stab left by procrastination in my life. Next, let's talk about something else. First of all, I wish my students a happy start to school. Presumably, most of my readers just finished their homework yesterday. Thank you for your hard work. Secondly, I wish all of you a happy autumn month in advance. Also, you don't have to worry about the surrounding matters. We should be able to deliver the goods this month, should. Next, let's talk about something more important. If there are no accidents, there will be double the monthly votes at the end of this month. So, please hold on for the time being and vote for me in the last 2 days of September. Anyway, you'll still vote. At that time, 1 vote can be worth 2 votes. According to the usual practice, I should write a preview of this month's plot at the end. The story of seeking poison in the wilderness is quite long. It won't be finished in the first half of the month. In late September, a story called Scary Nursery Rhyme will unfold. Whether Fong Bujue will enter alone or as a team, it's not decided yet. Please wait and see. Chapter 654. After leaving the hiding spot, Fong Bujue immediately walked in the direction that Bu Bo had left. He did not intend to follow the man, but he wanted to find out where Bu Bo had gone before he continued his exploration. It did not take long for him to discover a few flattened grass, a few broken branches, and a few inconspicuous footprints. Not so simple. Fong Bujue looked at the footprints and mumbled. He even managed to come up with the idea of anti-stalking. Obviously, Bu Bo had purposely created these footprints to confuse a potential stalker. Furthermore, the completion rate of this disguise is quite high. If not for my close observation, even I might have been tricked by him. Brother Ju thought to himself, if all the NPCs in this scenario are as smart as he is, then I'm afraid I'll be in deep trouble. Just as he was thinking, suddenly, don't be fooled by the illusion before you. A man's voice came from not far behind Brother Ju. He did not move in the direction of the footprints. Who's there? Fong Bujue heard the voice, and his face tensed. He turned around to follow the voice, and his grip on the military shovel tightened. At that moment, Brother Ju had lost his superhuman senses, so he was unable to sense the people who were silently approaching him. This change caused him, who had always been cautious, to feel a trace of uneasiness, and this uneasiness caused him to become very aggressive. Calm down, Stephen, it's me. The speaker appeared in Brother Ju's sight. He was contestant number 6, Balak Hussein Ao Guanhai. I'm very calm. Fong Bujue did use a very calm tone to communicate with the man. Raising the military shovel, like I'm going to chop you down, doesn't mean that I've lost my cool. Huh? Ao Guanhai laughed. He did not approach recklessly, but maintained a distance of 3 meters. With a smile, he continued, Is this how you normally greet people? Humph! Fong Bujue snorted coldly. This is how I usually greet those guys who are trying to sneak up on me from behind. Hearing this, Ao Guanhai's expression instantly changed. However, he quickly covered up the change in his expression with a raised eyebrow expression. Then he smiled and said, I'm sorry, Stephen. I didn't even realize that I was quietly approaching you. As he spoke, he even raised his hands to make quotation marks. At least from my point of view, I walked over very normally and kindly reminded you I have no idea when you started following me. Fong Bujue interrupted him. But that reminder that you gave me proved that when I was communicating with Bu Bo, you were already observing us from the dark. Silence descended. At this moment, the atmosphere between the two was very subtle. It was as if swords were drawn and bows were drawn. But there was also a hidden opportunity. 10 seconds later, Ao Guanhai smiled again. Stephen, I didn't misjudge you. Fong Bujue stared at Ao Guanhai and didn't answer. He knew that the former president wasn't finished yet. There is no doubt about your talent. Ao Guanhai continued. Cooperate with me. Stephen, you won't regret it. Cooperate? Brother Bujue looked straight into Ao Guanhai's eyes and repeated this key word. Yes, cooperate. Ao Guanhai replied. If it's you, you should be able to understand. He paused for a moment. In this game, even if it's just using each other, cooperating with many people is far more advantageous than acting alone. After all, you're someone who plays politics. I'm afraid that this kind of love for cliques has already seeped into your bones. Fong Bujue said, but This kind of person does have their own strengths. Politicians are good at scheming, diplomacy, and acting. Their shrewdness is even better than Bubo's. You mean, you're ready to temporarily establish a mutually using relationship with me? Feng Bujue continued. This kind of question that he already knew the answer would allow Ao Guanhai to say more and, at the same time, buy himself more time to think. Ha! I told you, Stephen. I'm more inclined to use the term cooperation. Ao Guanhai's answer was as smooth as a politician's. Think about it. If you and I cooperate, do you think the others will have a chance of winning? From how I see it, we only need 45 hours. In just 2 days, we'll be able to eliminate all 8 of them. Eliminate? When Feng Bujue heard this, he was confused. What does he mean? What does he mean by eliminate? Is he referring to ambushing the other players to incapacitate them? Or is there some other method? Since the introductory introduction did not explain the complete rules of man seeking poison, Feng Bujue was at a great disadvantage from the beginning. To his dismay, he could not ask anyone about this because the NPCs in this scenario were all highly intelligent. If Feng Bujue exposed the fact that he did not know the complete rules of the game, who knew what kind of trap he would be in? You make it sound so serious, but do you have a specific plan in mind? After several seconds of internal struggle, Brother Bujue came up with a question that would not expose himself and would allow him to continue asking. Of course, Ao Guanhai replied. But for now, I cannot tell you. Why not? Feng Bujue asked again. Ha, that's enough, Stephen. Ao Guanhai laughed. Stop joking around with such a serious face. He raised his right hand and extended 2 fingers. First, you will not associate yourself with an idiot who will reveal his plan without any guarantee. Second, the best way to deal with such an idiot is to pretend to cooperate with him and then find a chance to kill him. He was right. In such a situation, those who refused to reveal their plan were the ones who were worth cooperating with. Humph! Feng Bujue also laughed, and then he laughed. Ha! Ha ha ha! He laughed like a mental patient, making it hard for the other party to read his thoughts. After a few seconds of laughter, Brother Bujue suddenly stopped and put on a serious expression. Looks like you and I share some common interests. Without a doubt, Feng Bujue was playing a little trick on him. It was as if he was saying, my reaction earlier was to test you, just like how your first sentence was to test me. Ao Guanhai's expression turned serious as well. He loosened his collar. He had already removed his suit and tie, and he was wearing a shirt. So you agree? 50 hours. Before the party who proposed the cooperation had even set the rules, Brother Bujue took the initiative and said, from now on, I will be on the same side as you for 50 hours. He licked his lips. As for after 50 hours, whether or not we have successfully eliminated the other 8 people, as you said, our cooperation will end at that time. No problem. Ao Guanhai nodded. That's exactly what I want. Very good, partner. When Feng Bujue said the last 2 words, he deliberately used a slightly sarcastic tone. I hope your execution is enough to keep up with your plan. Ao Guanhai heard this and grinned, revealing 2 rows of big white teeth. Yes, we can. Chapter 655. My name is Easter Koo, and I'm 23 years old. Every day, I wake up from a bed of more than 50,000 square meters, except today, and face more than 200 young, beautiful, and sexy maids. I brush my teeth with a toothbrush made of diamond, wash my face with a towel made of panda hair, and comb my hair with an ivory comb. And I have a handsome appearance that is irresistible to the opposite sex, as well as wisdom that leaves those vulgar people in the dust. But I don't feel happy because of these. Living in the same world as those vulgar people, breathing the same air, makes me uncomfortable. Deep in the jungle, Mr. Easter Koo was talking to a camera fixed on the treetops. Even in this very dangerous environment, he still maintained the appearance in the opening CG. His hair was not messed up, and he tried his best to show his perfect side in front of the camera. Rustle, rustle. Suddenly, the sound of bushes rustling was heard from a few meters away. Who's there? Easter Koo heard the noise and quickly turn around to shout. A few seconds later, two figures came out of the bushes one after another. The one walking in front was a black man carrying a suit, and the one walking behind was a white man holding a military shovel. After seeing who it was, Easter Koo's expression relaxed. "Oh, it's you guys." Fong Bujua turned his head, looked at the other person up and down, and then said, "What are you doing?" "Huh?" Easter Koo showed a look of disdain. "Can't you tell? I'm recording a VCR, video_cassette_recording, generally referring to video recordings, for myself." As he spoke, he raised his finger and pointed to the camera on the tree. "When this episode is broadcast, the program team will definitely need a lot of personal footage of me. So I'll say a little in front of the camera now, so that the editors don't edit it themselves afterward. You seem to be very relaxed." Fong Bujua narrowed his eyes. "Huh, that's right. I have a lot of time." Easter Koo raised his head and laughed. "I've only smoked marijuana a few times, so I'm different from a group of drug addicts like you. Even if I don't eat or drink for 3 days and 3 nights, my stamina is enough for me to survive. And I don't even need to look for a marijuana stash to relieve my addiction." He shook his head slightly and used his fingers to sweep away the bangs on his forehead. "So, from the very beginning, there was no suspense in this competition. I advise you to give up as soon as possible. If you persist, you will only make a fool of yourself." "Oh." Brother Ju turned to look at A.O. Guanhai. "Brother Guanhai, what do you think?" "I think what he said makes sense." A.O. Guanhai pondered for a moment before he continued. "The physiological dependence caused by marijuana is relatively light. Inhaling a small amount or using a large amount intermittently will not cause any withdrawal symptoms. If he really has only smoked marijuana, then he does have a certain advantage. As expected of the former president." "You're quite cultured," Easter Goose said proudly. Fong Bujua rubbed his chin and continued. "Then let's start with him." "Sure," A.O. Guanhai replied. "I was thinking the same thing." "Huh?" When Easter Goo heard this, he realized that the atmosphere seemed to be a bit off. He quickly took a few steps back and stared at the two men. What do you want to do? What do we want to do?" Fong Bujua curled the corners of his mouth and revealed an excited smile. "Of course, we want to create some suspense for the competition." 10 minutes later, east of Carnabas Island, a cruise ship was anchored on the sea. All the crew members and most of the supplies, including the 2 helicopters, were placed on this ship. In the middle of the cruise ship, there was a huge cabin. The interior of the cabin had been converted into a fully equipped monitoring room. At this moment, the main creative team of Seeking Poison in the Wild was busy working in this cabin. There were many excellent directors and editors here. They were staring at the scene in front of them, paying close attention to the movements of the 10 contestants and the referee, Bell. Their eyes were like torches, their minds were agile. They knew what the audience wanted to see, and they also knew how to create such a plot from time to time. These people would give orders to the staff hidden on the island through the walkie-talkie at hand to regulate the situation of the competition. Or, according to the needs of the show, they would instantly change and guide the contestants' subsequent behavior to increase the viewing and drama of the show. That's right. It wasn't just the pre-match arrangements. Even during the competition, there would be people secretly interfering. This was a reality show. The focus was on the show, not the reality. Therefore, in most cases, this type of show was very fake. Of course, the main creative team of Seeking Poison in the Wild was indeed working very hard. Like the 10 contestants, they also faced the challenge of 72 hours, but they could take turns to go to the lounge and take a nap for a while. As long as the competition was not over, they could not relax for a moment. In addition, they were also responsible for supervision. After all, this was still an entertainment show. Even if the contestants had signed some strange disclaimer documents before the competition, there were still basic principles. At the very least, there must not be any vicious incidents, such as murder or rape, during the recording of the show. As long as there was the slightest sign of such a thing, the production team would immediately send people to stop it. Speaking of this, there was a very tricky thing happening right now. Hey, guys, come and take a look at this. In the cabin, A director suddenly stood up from his seat and said loudly, "Don't talk so much. Lindsay is about to wash her feet by the stream." "I don't want to miss this," a person in the other corner of the cabin replied. "A minute. I'm serious. Come over here." The director shouted again. This time, the people in the room put on a skeptical look and leaned over one after another. "This is the scene recorded 5 minutes ago." The director pointed to the screen with a serious face and clicked on a video that had just been taken. On the screen, a close-up of Stephen Carbon quickly appeared. "What's going on? Do we have a camera with this kind of position?" Someone immediately interrupted. He removed the camera from the tree and held it in his hand. The director who shouted said, "Don't interrupt. Keep watching." Before he could finish his sentence, Stephen Carbon began to take action in the video. First, he pointed the camera in his hand at another person. That person's hands were handcuffed, and his legs were tied together with rattan vines. He was leaning against a big tree, and his face was filled with fear. There were obvious bruises on his left cheek and the right corner of his mouth, which were probably caused by someone punching him. "Tell everyone your name." "Stephen Carbon, Phone Bujua's voice came from outside the camera. Just his voice and tone alone were enough to make people shudder. "Easter Koo." Easter Koo in the camera answered submissively. He didn't even dare to look in the direction of the camera. This was obviously not because he was worried that he wasn't photogenic enough, but because he was deeply afraid of the man behind the camera. "Are you a drug addict?" Phone Bujua continued to ask. "Yes. Yes," Koo replied. "Yes. Yes." Brother Jew's voice grew louder, and the camera shook. "Then why are you acting like an innocent person?" Because, Koo stuttered. "I want to appear better than you. Better than you, nobler than us, or more innocent than us." Phone Bujua laughed. "Haha, you're like a prostitute standing on the street, laughing at a few prostitutes who are being escorted into the police car. You think you're different from us. In fact, you're just a pot calling the kettle black." At this point, Brother Jew paused for a moment and reached out to wipe the sweat on Easter Koo's face. "It looks like you feel wrong to be sent to the island with us?" Easter Koo's body trembled involuntarily. The fear in his eyes was on the verge of bursting out, and he couldn't utter a single word. "Look at me," Brother Jew roared. Koo was shocked. He turned his head to look at the camera, but he quickly looked away. "Look, there's always this kind of disappointing guy." The next second, Phone Bujua turned the camera around and aimed it at his face. "If you want the show to be more exciting and explosive, you have to be more lenient." His tone and eyes were fanatical. His heavy breathing seemed to be transmitted directly to the cabin through the camera. "If you don't want to, it's okay. I'll help you." He paused for a moment and revealed a sinister smile. "I mean what I say. Ha, ha, ha." Accompanied by a burst of crazy laughter, the camera shook violently and spun. Then, Easter Koo's screams were heard. A few seconds later, the screen went black, and everything stopped abruptly. The director who was playing the video turned around to look at his colleagues behind him and said in a low voice, "When I was halfway through, I had already found the nearest staff member to go over. But things happened too quickly, and there was only one camera in that area. I don't know what the situation is now, and I don't know if the staff member can arrive in time." What's going on? Has Stephen Carbon gone mad? How is that possible?" He deliberately took down the camera on the tree and then filmed this series of scenes. He obviously knows that we're watching, and those last words were directed at us. This shows that he's very sane. Could it be that the drug addiction has made him crazy? Like schizophrenia? That's possible. He's not like that in person. At this moment, the main creators of the program were discussing spiritedly, not knowing what to do. This group of people who played the role of God had fallen into a panic. This had never happened in the past recording process. Calling Dolphin, the name of the cruise ship, Calling Dolphin, this is Kangaroo 4, the code name of the island's action team. Each number represents a team of 3 staff members. Do you hear me? Over. At this moment, the team that had been sent out earlier reported. The director sitting there quickly picked up the walkie-talkie and responded quickly. "This is Dolphin. What's the situation? Over. We've arrived at the location you specified, but there's no one here at all. Kangaroo 4 replied. The camera on the tree has been removed, and we can see traces of climbing and dismantling. Over. Kangaroo 4, can you take a closer look at the situation there? The director continued. For example, are there bloodstains on the ground, footprints, or bodies that have been dragged? Oh, God. Suddenly, the person on the other end of the walkie-talkie exclaimed. What's wrong? Kangaroo 4? Kangaroo 4, quickly report the situation over there. Oh my God, this bastard. There was a scolding on the other end, followed by, there's a situation here, I have to go over and help. Later, the staff member in charge of the team's communication did not even have time to finish his words before he threw down the walkie-talkie and left. In an instant, the cabin fell into a dead silence. An atmosphere known as fear had already begun to quietly spread. No one knew what had happened at the scene, and no one dared to imagine. Only a burst of crazy laughter lingered in everyone's ears. Chapter 656. Look, as I expected, they fell for it, Fong Bujue, who was hiding in the bushes, said as he looked at Kangaroo Team 4 in the distance. Although it was very effective, I still think your idea is a bit crazy, Ao Guanhai, who was squatting next to him, said. Maybe. Fong Bujue sneered and didn't say much. In the face of a temporary partner like Ao Guanhai, Brother Ju naturally wouldn't reveal too much, so he just gave a perfunctory reply. But in fact, people who were familiar with Brother Ju's style understood that those seemingly inexplicable actions were actually very purposeful. Fong Bujue was very clear that in addition to Bell, the program team had arranged many spies on the island. Brother Ju had already seen the clues left by those spies. Under this premise, it was reasonable to speculate that the program team has been secretly interfering with the game in real time. For Brother Ju, this feeling of being controlled was very bad. Moreover, in addition to the subjective dissatisfaction, objectively, he was also facing a threat. The cause of this threat was his cooperation with Ao Guanhai. The former president's point of view was correct. Even if it was just using each other, it was much more advantageous to team up than to act alone. Just now, when Brother Ju climbed up the tree to get the camera, Ao Guanhai was responsible for guarding Eastwood Ku, and when Brother Ju used the camera to record the threatening VCR, Ao Guanhai was on the side setting up a hunting trap. If one person did these things, it would be really difficult to do. It was very easy to do it with two people. Not to mention how long their cooperation could last, how much danger was hidden in it. At least in the short term, Fong Bujue and Ao Guanhai's competitiveness was much stronger than the other contestants. However, because of this, they were bound to become the target of the program team suppression. This was without a doubt. A mature director team would never allow a reality show to lose its suspense shortly after the start. Everyone in the industry knew that it was common for the production team to balance things behind the scenes. No one liked to watch a battle where there was a huge disparity in strength. If there was no suspense about the outcome, it would be boring. If it was boring, it would mean that the ratings would drop. If the ratings dropped, it would mean that advertisers would come looking for you to negotiate. It was precisely because of this threat from the production team that Fong Bujue made his previous move. His goal was very clear. He wanted to disrupt the program team's control of the rhythm of the competition. Brother Ju was good at messing up other people's thoughts and plans. As the saying goes, first shock, second trick, third trick, fourth trick, fifth trick, and sixth taunt. There were many people who had died unjustly under Brother Ju's 6 tricks, both in the virtual world and in the real world. The program team of Man Seeking Poison in the Wild was just another entry on his list of scams. They seemed to be about to rescue Gu. A few minutes later, Ao Guanhai spoke again. It doesn't matter. I've already smashed his knees, Fong Bujue continued. Elimination is inevitable. Get ready to pick up the soap. It should be noted here that after the camera disappeared and before the crew arrived, Brother Ju had already knocked Eastbourne Gu unconscious and turned him into a part of the hunting trap, i.e., a heavy object. Soon after, Kangaroo Team 4 arrived. Just as their team leader was communicating with the Dolphin cruise ship, another crew member happened to step into the trap. As a result, he and Eastbourne Goo bounced up together and were hung upside down from a tree. Stephen, I have to remind you, A.O. Guanhai continued. In a sense, you've already crossed the line. He paused for 2 seconds before continuing. Even though we've signed the disclaimer clause before the recording, the torture and abuse you've inflicted on Eastbourne Goo is likely to lead to a civil lawsuit. With his family's influence, Fong Bujue interrupted him with a laugh. You're a lawyer after all. To think of this so quickly. Brother Ju was not afraid. What happened after the script was over had nothing to do with him. That's enough. You don't have to worry about it. I'm responsible for my own actions. Besides, I didn't record the scene of me beating him up. Just because he says I did it. I can even say that I was acting in self-defense. I see. A.O. Guanhai also smiled. Actually, the main point I want to say is, if he sues both of us, I suggest you don't hire a lawyer. Just let me do it. My lawyer's license is still valid. Fong Bujua shrugged and said, Okay, then it's a deal. The two of them hid in the forest and chatted softly, observing the actions of Kangaroo Team Number 4 from afar. About 5 minutes later, the staff member who fell into the trap was rescued. The person was basically uninjured. He only sprained his ankle. Compared to the physical and mental trauma that Eastbourne Goo suffered, it was nothing. After another 3 minutes, the two staff members who could move freely took out a stretcher from their backpacks, a high-tech product of this world, a simple stretcher that was only a foot long and a palm wide after folding, and placed Eastbourne Goo on it. The staff member who sprained his ankle was responsible for carrying an extra backpack and limped behind. Before they set off, they communicated with the Dolphin again and reported the situation at hand. The team on the ship discussed for a little more than 10 seconds and decided to let them go back first. Then, the 3 members of Kangaroo Team carried the unconscious Eastbourne Goo and set off in the direction of the beach. Okay, they're gone. What now? A.O. Guanhai asked when the footsteps of those people were far away. Go back there and set up a new trap. Fong Bujue replied expressionlessly. What's the point of that? A.O. Guanhai wondered. To create further panic, Fong Bujue answered as he walked out of the bushes. Oh, A.O. Guanhai followed him out. Why do you say that? First of all, the longer we disappear from the surveillance screen, the more uneasy they will be. As Fong Bujue spoke, he raised his eyes and glanced around. Along the way, I've basically figured out the pattern of how they set up the cameras. The surveillance area of those cameras is indeed very large, and the coverage is very high. But there are some places that are useless even if there are cameras, such as the bushes, the grass, the trenches underwater, and he pointed to the front. Here. That's true. They must be desperately searching for our whereabouts through the cameras in several nearby areas. A.O. Guanhai continued. They probably won't immediately think that we've returned to this place. That's right. With the 3 staff members going back and forth, the watchers will have the illusion that our people have just searched that place but found nothing. Fong Bujue continued. But in fact, they didn't search this place. Their energy was spent on saving people. But this doesn't matter because these 3 people have been here for a long time, so even they themselves will think we didn't miss anything. He paused. In short, no one will think that the 2 of us are still here for a short period of time. Well, not appearing in the camera is one of the reasons. A.O. Guanhai asked again, what about the second reason? Secondly, since we're going to stay here for a while, we might as well use this time to do something. Setting up a trap is a good choice. Fong Bujua laughed. When they realize our whereabouts, they will definitely send people over again. At that time, wait a minute, how do you know that they will fall into the trap again? A.O. Guanhai asked. Someone has already fallen into the trap once. It's very simple. Fong Bujue replied. If the people who come know that someone has fallen into the trap here before, then they will think the trap has been stepped on anyway, and this place is already safe, so they will fall into the trap. And if the people who come don't know that someone has fallen into the trap here before, then they will also fall into the trap. A.O. Guanhai's brain was a little confused. To put it bluntly, it doesn't matter whether they know or not. The important thing is to be vigilant at all times. Fong Bujiwa said, only people who are always on guard against traps can avoid them. In the eyes of these people, the whole jungle and even the whole world is a minefield. These people don't care if lightning can hit the same place twice, and they don't care if someone has stood in this place and been struck to death by lightning before. They only know that, on a thunderstorm, try not to go out, because there's a possibility of being struck to death wherever you go. Ao Guanhai wiped the cold sweat from his temples. In this specious conversation, he felt that Stephen Carbon was more and more unfathomable. Okay, so the double trap is the second. He pursed his lips. Sounds like it can really make the program team panic for a while. At this time, Fong Bujiwa had already come to the wreckage of the trap. He stopped and said, okay, let's quickly make another one. Ao Guanhai walked over, looked at the broken rattan on the ground, and said, this rattan can't be used anymore. I'll go find a few new ones. Stephen, you go find something heavy. After saying that, he turned around and started to move. Who knew, clang, without any warning, at least from Ao Guanhai's point of view, Brother Ju suddenly raised the military shovel and attacked Ao Guanhai from behind. Ao Guanhai staggered and fell to the ground. He looked back at Brother Ju in disbelief and said with difficulty, you actually, clang. It was another head-on blow. Brother Ju mercilessly added another shovel, completely knocking Ao Guanhai out. You were the one who told me to find something heavy. I'm just getting something nearby. As Fong Bujiwa said this, he had already squatted down and handcuffed Ao Guanhai. After knocking out Eastbourne Gu, he took off the handcuffs. Sorry, just doing this so far is not enough to make the program team panic. His eyes gradually turned cold. Eastbourne Gu is just the beginning, and you will become the key link. Chapter 657. Yo, I came from the streets. I have nothing in my pocket. I lack food and clothes. I live like a stray dog, but even if I'm lost, I'm not afraid of hardships. My faith has been achieved. The road ahead is no longer vague, no matter where I am. I will be your compass. Hip-hop is the church. I'm your God. Yo, please keep fighting. I'll use rap to help you through your difficult life. The above was a video that the program team had just received. This VCR was also shot by Fong Bujiwa with a camera that was dismantled. As long as he turned on again, the cruise ship would be able to receive the signal of the device. In the video, Ao Guanhai, who was tied to a tree with rattan, was rapping to the camera with a panicked face after the rap ended. The video became dark again. The monitoring cabin fell into dead silence once again. But a few seconds later, discussions broke out one after another. What's going on? Is Ao Guanhai being coerced? Why did they force him to rap? Look, the tree behind him is the same tree as the one in Eastwood Gu's video. He's still there. No wonder we couldn't find him anywhere. So he's been hiding in that area. I say, isn't Ao Guanhai and Stephen Carbon in cahoots? Why is he tied up? Where did Carbon go? Is there someone else there? Impossible. Everyone else on the island is under surveillance. Then, this video, I'm afraid it was also shot by Stephen Carbon. He actually made a move on Ao Guanhai, who is his partner. God, this guy is crazy. Did you see the wound on Ao Guanhai's forehead? We have to stop him before he does something worse. Enough. Everyone quiet down. While everyone was talking at once, a vigorous and powerful voice rang out and immediately held everyone's attention. The dozens of people in the cabin turned their heads in unison to look at a man sitting in the corner. It was a rather old man with short white hair and a beard. He was wearing a black casual shirt. Although he was over 60 years old, he was still in good health and had an extraordinary appearance. His eyes were deep and spirited, and the distinct outline of his face, big forehead, was unforgettable. He was the chief director of Seeking Poison in the Wild and one of the greatest directors in the universe. James Francis, Not Deaf. Let me organize my thoughts. After Not Deaf calmed down the scene, he immediately nodded and muttered, Contestant number 9, Mr. Stephen Carbon. First, He formed an alliance with Ao Guanhai and agreed to attack the other contestants together. Then, they killed Eastwood Gu, dismantled one of our cameras, and recorded something like a threatening video. Then, Stephen Carbon attacked Ao Guanhai, turned on the camera, and forced him to rap in front of the camera. Yes, he continued. Some of Mr. Carbon. Def frowned. Mr. Carbon's is. But objectively speaking, he is still a contestant, isn't he? He raised his head and swept his gaze across everyone's faces. He didn't break the rules, nor did he go against his own goals. Apart from those strange and crazy performances, what Stephen Carbon did was nothing more than eliminating two competitors in a way permitted by the rules. What he said made sense, and the others on the ship were all speechless. After a long while, someone said, "Then, you mean we should just leave him alone?" Not Def did not answer his question. He just put his hand next to his right chin and held his cheek with 2 fingers, looking like he was deep in thought. Another period of silence fell. Everyone was waiting for the speaker to give further instructions. After a while, Not Def finally said, "Put me through to Bell." A big shot was indeed a big shot. The walkie-talkie was clearly on the table in front of him, but he still wanted someone to bring it to him. However, no one objected. In less than a second, someone took 2 steps forward and handed over the walkie-talkie. Not Def took the walkie-talkie and raised it to his mouth. "Bell, this is James. Please answer if you hear me." As the chief director, he had many privileges. One of them was when communicating with the staff on the island, he did not need to use code names such as Dolphin or Kangaroo X. He could just say his name directly. Of course, in most cases, he would only communicate with Bell. "Phew, this is Bell." After about 7 seconds, Clam's voice came from the walkie-talkie. "Sorry, it was not very convenient just now." "Ah, I saw it." Not Def had already moved his gaze to the surveillance screen where Clams was. "A coyote attacked you." In fact, this is a Florida black wolf. Originally a mysterious symbol of North American natives, it was affected by the colonial invasion and religious persecution of the white people after the 19th century. In 1910, the wolves were at the end of their rope after being hunted down. Due to hunger, they began to attack livestock. In 1917, the last Florida black wolf was killed by a human gun. It is said that this was a wolf pup. Since then, no one has seen a Florida black wolf. Clams replied, "There are no coyotes on this island, James. All the animals are—" Okay, I know." Not Def interrupted. "We chose the competition venue together, remember? I have seen the list of animals there. And, to be honest, I don't really care. Coyotes, black wolves. It doesn't make much difference to me." He exhaled. "Okay, let's get down to business. I need you to find someone." "Now?" Toad Wells asked. "Yes, as soon as possible." Not Def said, "When you see him, other than letting him choose an item to take away, give him another thing." When he said this, his eyes changed slightly. "Give him your knife." "What? My knife?" Clams was obviously stunned when he heard this. He replied firmly, "Yes, it's the one with the GPS positioning device in the hilt." At the same time, on Fong Bujiwe's side, "Okay, it's done." After recording the rap performance, Brother Ju broke Ao Guanhai's knee according to the routine. This routine was invented by him 30 minutes ago. "Don't worry, Brother Guanhai. Someone will come to save you soon." The moment the bone was broken, Ao Guanhai, who was tied to the tree, let out a painful groan. His body was also twisted due to the severe pain. 10 seconds later, perhaps the endorphins began to take effect. Ao Guanhai, who was in pain and anger, regained the ability to speak. He immediately cursed, "Oh, you despicable bastard. Stephen, you will suffer retribution. I advise you not to yell, Brother Guanhai." Fong Bujiwe replied calmly, "Although the rescue will come soon, before they come, you have to stay here alone for 10 to 20 minutes. As he spoke, he stood up. During this time, the wisest choice is to sit still and not make a sound, because moving may worsen the injury, and shouting may attract the attention of the beasts." He shrugged and tilted his head. "Considering this factor, I advise you to keep the knife well in case you need it." As soon as these words came out, Ao Guanhai's eyes suddenly changed. These subtle changes of expression naturally fell into Brother Jew's eyes. He smiled slightly and said, "Yes, 5 seconds ago, I noticed that you quietly stretched your right hand to the back of your waist. That's why I stood up and kept a certain distance from you." He shook his head. "You're trying to distract me by shouting and yelling, and then take the opportunity to stab me in the back. It's a life and death struggle." "Ha, you're too naive." As Brother Jew spoke, he took 2 steps back. "Less than 5 minutes after forming an alliance with you, I found out that you were secretly hiding a weapon. I just didn't say it out loud." He licked his lips. "Do you know the principle of besieging a city must be defended in Sun Tzu's Art of War? That's why I didn't handcuff you just now. I wanted to leave you with a glimmer of hope, to make you feel that you still have a chance to turn the tables." A grim smile appeared on his face. "Brother Guanhai, you're different from Eastwood. You're not the kind of person who easily gives in. If I didn't give you any leeway, you would definitely fight me to the death. So, only by letting you have the illusion that I still have a chance will you obediently cooperate with me and rap under my threat. Ha, you son of a bitch. Bastard." Ao Guanhai was really angry this time, and he burst out with a rather unpleasant curse. "There's nothing to be angry about, former Mr. President," Feng Bujue replied. "You are a politician, so you should be used to betrayal. You also know very well that, in this kind of environment, there is no right or wrong in what I do. If necessary, you will do the same." He laughed again. "Ha, if that is the case, why are you deceiving yourself and getting angry out of humiliation?" Facing Brother Jew's fallacious reasoning, Ao Guanhai was unable to refute for a while, and in his heart he had the thought, "This guy seems to have a point." "Then, Brother Guanhai, I won't keep you company." By then, Feng Bujue had already retreated 5 meters away. He bent down to pick up the camera that had fallen to the ground. "You now have 3 choices. 1. Throw the knife on your back at me and pray that it will hit me and cause me great damage. 2. After I leave, cut off the vines and drag your broken leg to follow me and find a chance to stab me in the back." He picked up the camera, took a breath, and said, "Anyway, I personally don't recommend you to choose these 2 options. In fact, this suggestion, to put it bluntly, was a taunt." Ao Guanhai was not a fool. The result of these 2 options was either being knocked out by the opponent or being knocked out by the pain. As for the 3rd option, when Feng Bujue said this, he had already turned around. "Calmly accept your failure." He looked back and smiled, an evil smile, just like how I calmly accepted my despicableness. Chapter 658. At 4:30 in the afternoon, the wind started to blow on the sea. Half an hour later, a huge dark cloud floated in the sky. It was so big that it cast a shadow over the entire Carnibus Island and the surrounding sea. At 5:15, the captain of the Dolphin cruise ship walked out of the captain's room and looked at the sky. Then, he gave the order to dock and drop the anchor. Although the director, who was not deaf, thought this was making a big deal out of nothing, the captain's attitude was firm. "I will not let the ship dock in the middle of the sea in this kind of weather." Therefore, the ship docked in the end. If the dark cloud was an old RV, then the lightning, storm, and wind were undoubtedly the family of 3 living in the RV. At 5:30, the sky was already roaring with thunder and the wind was howling. However, the rain had yet to fall. Feng Bujue's withdrawal reaction also ushered in another wave at this time. Ha! He leaned against a tree and gasped for air. He mumbled to himself, "This time, phew, it doesn't seem like I can just endure it." A few hours ago, Feng Bujue had already figured out the pattern of the withdrawal reaction debuff. Therefore, he did not use the marijuana that he found earlier. Instead, he chose to endure it. However, this wave of symptoms was particularly violent. Not only his stamina points, even his life points had started to disappear on their own. "This is not going to work. Even though I plan to use it when the symptoms of mental interference appear, based on this trend, my life points will run out sooner or later." When Feng Bujue thought about this, he reached into his pocket. "Hey, Stephen, we meet again." Just as Brother Jew was about to use the marijuana, Clam Sol's voice suddenly appeared beside him. At that moment, countless thoughts flashed through Brother Jew's mind. He was like an efficient computer. When you entered the question, the answer was already out. Therefore, give me the SCP-500. This was the first sentence that Brother Jew said when he saw Clam Sol. Brother Jew's move could be considered to have made full use of the rules, because the system notification had clearly stated, every time you meet Bale, you can use him to retrieve an item from your inventory. Since that was the case, there was no need to hold back. Just take it first. Toad Wells was slightly startled when he heard this, but he quickly responded, okay, no problem. As he spoke, he put down his backpack and handed over the things that Brother Jew wanted. Brother Jew was overjoyed when he saw that the other party had really taken out the item. He took the capsule without hesitation and swallowed it in one gulp. The next second, he opened the game menu and saw that the withdrawal reaction in the status bar had completely disappeared. No wonder it's a miracle drug that can turn zombies back into living people. Fong Buju muttered, it can even help with detoxification. But then he thought about it. Sigh, but this is my last pill. I wonder if I'll be able to get something similar in the future. Brother Jew had indeed planned to do that. If he found SCP-038 Thousand Shadows tree in a certain scenario, or met a chemist who could analyze SCP-500, then he would be able to mass-produce this medicine. If this plan could be realized, then no one would have to worry about Brother Jew not taking his medicine. No, running out of medicine. How do you feel? Toad Wells looked at Fong Bujue for a few seconds and asked, you looked terrible just now. Phew. In any case, I'm fine now. As Brother Jew spoke, he had already stood up. That was how amazing the medicine was. A person who had been on the brink of death a few seconds ago was back to full health in the blink of an eye. Very good. If you weren't in your best condition, it would have troubled me as well, Toad Wells replied. Now that you're in good condition, I can tell you the challenge mission without worry. Challenge, huh? When Fong Bujua heard that word, the second main mission that appeared in his mind was to complete at least 6 challenges given by the production team. But at that moment, he was not focused on the mission but something else. Before you tell me that, there is something that I need to clarify. At this point, there was no need for Brother Jew to pretend anymore, so his attitude was completely different from when he was on the beach. I believe you already know what I've done, so I'll be frank. He paused. Along the way, I've purposely avoided all the cameras, including the area where we're standing now. It's a blind spot. He looked directly into Toad Wells' eyes. I don't understand. How did you find me? Huh, is that it? Toad Wells laughed heartily. It's very simple. I started looking under the tree where you tied A.O. Guanhai up and followed you all the way here. Fong Bujue continued, but I've already covered up my footprints and other traces. Yes, I noticed it, but you didn't do it thoroughly enough. Toad Wells laughed. It's more than enough to fool the eyes of ordinary people, but I'm an expert. Okay, that's very convincing, Fong Bujue replied. Also, Toad Wells continued, because you've always chosen to move in the blind spot of the cameras, your route has been greatly limited, which has reduced the difficulty of my tracking. Yes, Fong Bujue agreed. Only moving in places where the cameras can't capture. Isn't that the same as narrowing the search range? Ha! Of course, I can't blame you for this, Toad Wells said. This isn't a fair contest to begin with. After all, 90% of this island is covered by the cameras. It's already very impressive that you can avoid the cameras and move long distances. He paused for 2 seconds. If you're interested, we can have a real hunting game in the wilderness without cameras in the future. Let's talk about it later. For some reason, Fong Bujue instantly recalled the experience of being hunted by Rains Ford on Hunter Island. He had a feeling that if the hunter had been Toad Wells, the situation would have been even more serious, and the result was very likely to be eaten. So, are you ready to listen to your own challenge now, Stephen? Toad Wells. Clam Wells acted like a host again. He glanced at the floating camera that had been following him the whole time. Well, go ahead, Fong Bujue replied casually. At this moment, Brother Jew couldn't help but imagine a set of images in his mind. Toad Wells was tracking the footprints of Stephen Carbon while explaining to the camera, "Look, those are human footprints. Although he has tried to cover it up, there are still traces left behind. I think he just left not long ago, and we can catch up with him soon." There are many ways to catch humans. The most effective way is to throw them down and hit them hard on the back of the head. We can also use a sharp weapon to quickly cut their necks, so it will be less painful. Most of the human flesh is edible. It is rich in protein, fat, minerals, and trace elements. 1 pound of human flesh can provide you with the calories you need for a whole day. Listen, your first challenge is, Toad Wells' words pulled Brother Jew back from his fantasy. Hunting a crocodile. Side mission has been triggered. Before his voice died away, the system prompt came. Brother Jew opened the game menu and saw a side mission in the mission bar. Find and kill the alligator in the swamp. "Oh," Fong Bujue said, "this is the rhythm of doing a side mission while doing the main mission. Considering the danger of this challenge, I will personally give you a demonstration." On the other hand, Toad Wells was not finished. "You have to watch my every move carefully and remember every key point I say. Understand?" "Well, okay," Fong Bujue replied. "Okay, follow me," Toad Wells said, turned around and jogged. He waved his hand and signaled Brother Jew to follow. Fong Bujue didn't say much and ran. After taking the potion, Fong Bujue was in good physical condition. The weight on his body was only a 85-kilogram military shovel, 2 sticks of marijuana, and a pair of handcuffs. In this state, if he couldn't catch up with Toad Wells, who was carrying a huge backpack, it would be too inexcusable. With Toad Wells leading the way, Fong Bujue scampered through the forest. 5 minutes later, they came to the edge of swamp. "This is it." Toad Wells stopped and put down his backpack. "There are many alligators in this swamp." He didn't speak to Brother Jew, but explained to the camera. In the United States, the number of alligators attacking humans is increasing rapidly. In the past 10 years, more people have been killed by alligators than the previous 30 years. Of course, on this small island far away from human civilization, there shouldn't be such a thing. When he said this, he had already stepped on the water plants and muddy stones and walked into the swamp. But alligators are alligators. They're dangerous and deadly. Fong Bujue didn't want to interrupt Toad Wells. In fact, he liked listening to this kind of explanation. So, Brother Jew just held the military shovel tightly and followed behind him silently. "Once you encounter one, how should you deal with it?" Toad Wells looked at the camera and picked up a piece of driftwood that was more than 1 meter long and as thick as a human arm from the swamp. "Now let me show you." He turned his head and looked to the side. "Look, there's one over there. It has also seen us. We have to walk over slowly." As he said this, he bent down and walked over quietly. Seeing this, Fong Bujue couldn't help but complain in his heart. "Although I don't know if this guy is teaching me or teaching the audience, I just want to say, alligator, it's not too late for you to run now." Chapter 659. That guy could bite off my arm with just one bite. It was as easy as biting off a rotten branch, Clam Wills said to the camera as he walked. His footsteps were tight, but his speed was not fast. Every movement of his seemed to be light and easy. This was a reflection of his experience and skills. "This crocodile is very suitable for a demonstration," Clam Wills said when he was 3 meters away from the crocodile. "Its body length is about 1.8 meters. A crocodile of this size is basically mature. Of course, it will continue to grow." He extended the wooden stick in his hand forward. "I call this alligator's attack method death roll. It is their innate instinct." As he said this, he glanced at Fong Bujue again. "Don't underestimate the destructive power of this reptile. Their whole body is almost all muscle. From a biological point of view, this guy is much stronger than me." Are you sure?" Although Fong Bujue was complaining in his heart, he still nodded and said understood. "Also, their speed is far beyond your imagination." Clam Wills continued to explain. "The speed of a crocodile can reach up to 50 kilometers per hour. In this swamp, you can't outrun them at all. Is this a problem with the F***king venue? Even if I sprint on the asphalt road at a speed of 100 meters, I can only reach 36 kilometers per hour. Brother Jew complained in his heart. Look, its eyes are staring at me. It is ready to attack. As he spoke, Clam Wills had already arrived in front of the crocodile with the wooden stick in his hand. He arched his back calmly and slowly squatted down. One of his hands was bent in front of him, while the other hand was steadily controlling the wooden stick. The alligator raised its head slightly and stared with its light yellow eyes. It opened its mouth halfway and was on guard. In the next few seconds, both Clam Wills and the crocodile tensed up and remained motionless. Is he going to use hockey to end the battle? Phone Bujua was imagining some strange things. In this swamp, it is fearless. The confrontation did not last long. Clamwell spoke again, but he had no time to look at the camera. So, when it faced me, it didn't retreat. Yeah, if it were me, as long as I saw you walking over with a wooden stick, I would run away, Phone Bujua said. Look carefully, Stephen. As Clamwell said this, he poked the crocodile's mouth with the wood in his hand. The crocodile's reaction was naturally to bite the rotten wood. I will try my best to kill it quickly and humanely. In the next second, Clamwells began to bend his legs and move horizontally. He used the front end of the wood to distract the crocodile while circling behind it. His explanation did not stop. I want to hold it down and clamp its mouth with my hand, not letting it open. Before he could finish his sentence, Clams raised his hand and tossed the log forward. Almost at the same time, he jumped and pounced, pressing down on the crocodile's back as if he was riding a horse. Did you see that? You have to move quickly. Toadsail's voice became intermittent. This was caused by the exertion of strength in its body. First, use the wood to distract its attention and create a momentary gap. Then attack it from behind. Use all of your weight to suppress it. At this point, his left hand shot out like lightning and clamped onto the crocodile's mouth. Then, just like this, use your hand to clamp down on its mouth. Don't let it open up. He turned his head to look at Brother Jew and used his right hand to make a bite gesture. The strength of the crocodile's jaws is amazing. Their bite force is as high as hundreds of kilograms. Some species even exceed a ton. But this force is used to close its mouth, not to open its mouth. So, when its mouth is closed, it will be your chance to attack. Phone Bujua stared with his dead fish eyes and roared in his heart. I can't do it. Phew, it's really strong. Clams panted. He withdrew his right hand, and a small straight knife appeared in his hand. The most effective way to end it is to cut off the spine behind its head. As he spoke, he raised the knife and pierced the tip of the knife into the crocodile's back. Okay, I have cut off its spine. Although Phone Bujua did not know if this method was humane, it was definitely fast. Ha woo! After the crocodile under him was completely dead, Clams let his body relax and took a few deep breaths. Then, Stephen, my demonstration ends here. He wiped the blade with his lapel, sheathed the knife, and stood up. I will say a few key points. First, find a place where the water level is shallow. If the water level is higher than your knees, then you may not be able to suppress the crocodile because the buoyancy will offset your weight. Second, you must attack from the back. The crocodile's explosive power is very strong. If you pounce from the front or the side, it is likely to bite you with a swing of its head. Third, act according to your ability. Don't find a crocodile that is too big. Those that are more than 3 meters long, don't even think about it. Phone Bujua nodded repeatedly with a serious expression on his face. Many people were deceived by his expression. Those who were familiar with Brother Jew knew that this was called accepting with humility and refusing to change despite repeated warnings. In addition, in view of the fact that the difficulty of this challenge is indeed very high, suddenly, Clam's expression changed slightly, and he continued, after a discussion among the higher-ups of the program team, they have decided that you can get additional help from me. Oh. Phone Bujua did not change his expression. He paused for a second and replied, not only did they not have any opinions about my previous behavior, but they are also helping me. Why would they have any opinions? Clam's ass back. In seeking poison in the wild, fighting, detaining, threatening, robbing, cheating, and so on, are all allowed by the rules. As long as you do not commit murder or sexual assault, even I, as the referee, have no right to interfere. Of course, if you leave someone with a disability or mental illness, you will still face additional lawsuits after the competition. I see, Brother Jew muttered, then asked in a probing tone, then, what is the help you're talking about? This is it. When Clam Wells replied, he took out the knife from his waist along with its scabbard. Gerber, knife brand, survival series. It's one of the knives that I often use. He handed the knife to Fong Bujua. Now, I will hand this knife over to you. I hope it will be helpful for you to complete the challenge. Chapter 660. Item name. Bell's everyday knife item type. Compound weapon quality. Legendary offense points. Extremely powerful element. Fire special effect 1. You can eat it after cutting off its head. The parasites, viruses, and toxins of the creatures killed by this knife will be nullified. Special effect 2. Tastes like chicken and is crunchy. The creatures killed by this knife will turn into the flavor of chicken after being cooked. Special effect 3. Protein is 6 times more than beef. The creatures killed by this knife will have 6 times more protein per unit of weight than beef. Special effect 4. Keep up, Kevin, summon a Kevin to fight for you. Equip requirement. General ability A, workmanship B, summoning B, binds after pickup. Can be taken out of the scenario. Yes remark, total length 27. 9 centimeters, blade, length 9. 5 centimeters, AUS, 8A blade with a hardness of 58 HRC. Carbide hilt covered with ABS anti-slip rubber, comes with a nylon case sheath, a sharpener, a flint, and an outdoor survival whistle. Bell eat you. Clam Pierce's personal blade. A must-have divine weapon for survival in the wilderness and for silencing witnesses. If you stand in its way, it will eat you. Fong Bujue reached out to accept the dagger that the man passed to him. He immediately pulled it out of the scabbard and held it before his eyes to study it closely. The knife was gray in color, and the blade was covered with a layer of gray titanium. Only the end of the handle and the hilt were decorated with some orange. The scabbard was equipped with a fixing belt, an elastic buckle, a flint slot, which contained a survival flint, and an alloy sharpener. The sharp tip, the serrated back edge, the threaded hole through which the knife could be tied to a stick to be used as a spear, and the whistle that was tied to the end of the handle were all very practical designs. From various angles, this was a great piece of equipment. It could be used as both a weapon and a tool. Its attack power and stealth ability were better than the WJQ military shovel, and it was easy to carry around. It could be worn around the waist and did not take up an inventory. Now, the only problem was that I want to confirm. After Fong Bujue finished reading the item description, he sheathed the saber and held it tightly in his hand. This saber, are you planning to lend it to me for a while? Or are you going to gift it to me? If Clam Wells had replied, I'm just lending it to you, Fong Bujue would have immediately plotted, how can I get rid of this equipment? In any case, Brother Jew had already done something similar to Spirit Snatcher. Not only did he steal the demonic spiritual pivot, but he also consumed it. Most importantly, he hadn't paid any price for it. With such a history, Brother Jew had no qualms about stealing equipment from NPCs. Of course I'm giving it to you. Clam Wells laughed. It's just a saber. I see. I get it now. Fong Bujue mumbled to himself. For other people in this scenario, this is just a normal saber that can be bought from a shop. Only in the hands of Stephen Carbon, who is possessed by a player, will it be a legendary equipment. Then, thank you, Fong Bujue replied in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing as he clipped the saber to his belt. Okay, keep the knife well. As Clam Wells spoke, he bent down, reached out with one arm, and grabbed the tail of the alligator. But this is my spoil of war. I'll take it away without hesitation. Of course, Fong Bujue said. He knew very well that Clam Wells would not leave the body of the alligator behind. Alligator meat is an excellent source of energy. It has very low cholesterol, and for the same weight, it has as much protein as beef, but it has only half the fat. Clams explained to the camera while pulling the crocodile out of the swamp. Speaking of crocodile fat, do you know? It's an effective mosquito repellent. If you apply it on your bare skin, you can prevent mosquitoes from biting you. He hung the crocodile's body upside down, grabbed its tail, and hung it over his shoulder, dragging it behind him. As for the crocodile skin, after cutting it into strips with a knife, it can be made into a strong rope. Hey, you're only listing its advantages one by one before you take it away. When Feng Bujue heard this, he complained his heart. What you're saying is, if you want it, hurry up and kill one, right? Patter, patter, patter. Walala, just at this moment, the sound of rain falling from slow to rapid suddenly sounded. Rain finally began to fall from the stormy sky. This rainstorm that had been accumulating power for a long time was indeed extraordinary. It could be said that the wind whistled and lightning flashed, and the torrential waterfall was shocking. In just a few seconds, Feng Bujue felt like he was taking a shower. Oh, it seems that you're not very lucky. Clam seemed calm in the storm. He dragged the crocodile and walked back to the backpack. I'm afraid you can't hunt in this weather. He paused for a moment, turned sideways, and picked up the backpack with one hand. I suggest you find a place to take shelter from the rain first. Wait for the rain to stop before you act. Okay, I will, Feng Bujue replied. Then, I'll take my leave first, Stephen, Clams immediately said. See you later. After that, he turned around, with a backpack in one hand and a crocodile in the other, trotting and disappearing into the rain. Goodbye. Feng Bujue looked at the other's back and responded, but his voice was soon drowned out by the sound of the rain. Evening, 6:40 p.m. in a cave on the island. A woman was sitting about 10 meters away from the cave entrance, hugging her knees and shivering. Achoo! Even though she was alone in this wilderness, Lindsay Arhut did not forget to cover her mouth and nose with both hands when she sneezed to maintain her poise. Of course, there was a reason for this. As soon as she entered the cave, she saw a camera high up, so she knew that she was still being watched. How unlucky! The Arhut wiped her nose with her hand. There was no handkerchief or tissue for her to use at the moment, and muttered, "Why'd I end up like this?" She interlocked her fingers, put her hands together in front of her forehead, and prayed softly, "God, if you can hear me, please listen to me. Please help me. As long as you help me this time, I promise to be an honest child. I will never say that I'm bisexual again. I will come out of the closet, frankly." Before she finished speaking, a bolt of lightning streaked across the sky. A ghastly white light shone in from the outside of the cave, reflecting a long and narrow figure. The Arhut was startled by the sudden appearance of the figure and could not help but scream. Rumble! A few seconds later, the sound of thunder came and drowned out her voice. As for that person, he had already slowly walked into the cave. Ha! Feng Bujue stood still, gasping for breath. He used his left hand to support the stone wall and his right hand to wipe his face. After the water droplets in his eyelashes and eyes were wiped away, he saw the situation not far away and asked, "Ms. Lohan?" "It's Miss Lohan," the Arhut replied. "Oh, Miss Lohan, huh? What a coincidence." When Feng Bujue greeted the Arhut, his face was full of smiles, and his tone was very kind. "But," Brother Jew sneered in his heart, "I wanted to find a place to hide from the rain, but I didn't expect to meet a lone opponent. Ha! My luck is really good." In just a few seconds, his eyes swept over the camera high up in the cave. "There's one here, too. Oomph. Well, it's only interesting if you film it." His eyes quickly wandered to Arhut. The latter's appearance was the same as in the opening CG. He was wearing a long-sleeved t-shirt with an off-the-shoulder, a black vest as the bottom, and a pair of hot pants on his lower body. At this time, the Arhut's whole body was wet. In the dim light, her sexy body was faintly discernible. Inside this cave, there is no one to help you. Feng Bujue continued to work in his mind. And the storm outside will greatly affect the speed of the rescue team's arrival. Even if the program team finds something wrong, it will be too late by the time they send help. Chapter 661. 10 minutes later, aha, done. Fong Bujua shouted excitedly the moment he saw the fire. Brother Ju did not rest for a moment during these 10 minutes. He first wrung his shirt dry. The system did not allow him to take off his shirt, so he could only wring it while wearing it. Then he walked around the cave in the dark. He was lucky to find a pile of dry leaves and vines. As long as they were dry and flammable, anything would do, even animal carcasses would do. He then carried the pile back to the entrance of the cave and started a fire with the back of his knife and flint. Well done, Mr. Carbon. Luohan saw this and immediately showed a happy expression and praised him. It had to be said that this was an ironic scene. The contestants who participated in this show had nothing to worry about in the outside world, but they all chose to rely on drugs to find happiness. At this moment, in this wilderness, in the midst of the thunderstorm, hunger, and cold, even a small bonfire was enough to make them jump for joy. Do you need to take off your shirt and dry it? Fong Bujue put away his knife and asked. I would like to, Luohan replied. But she raised her hand and pointed at the camera mounted high up. It's recording. I thought you wouldn't care about that. Fong Bujue shrugged. Hey, filming is filming. Luohan frowned slightly. Did I become an exhibitionist after shooting a few revealing scenes? Hee, I'm just kidding. Brother Ju laughed and sat down instead of squatting. He began to untie his shoelaces. The system still allowed him to take off his shoes. However, I think you should at least dry your feet, or you might get trench foot. He paused and imitated Clam Saul's tone and explained, it will make your feet congested, swollen, blisters and blood blisters, and cause the skin to fall off. If it gets infected, you won't be able to walk, and your life will be in danger. Okay, thank you for your advice. Luohan responded and began to take off her shoes. So far, Fong Bujue felt that his plan was going smoothly. The first step, make the other party lower their guard, had basically been completed. In this short period of time, Brother Ju had quietly created a harmonious atmosphere. It was as if he and Arhut were not competitors, but companions sheltering from the rain under the same roof. Of course, Brother Ju also understood that the sense of trust and security that came from being in the same situation was very fragile in nature. As long as he made the slightest move, everything he had done before would be for naught. In addition, through observation, it can be found that Arhut has not completely let down his guard. Even though she was polite on the surface, she still maintained a certain distance from Fong Bujue and faced Brother Ju directly. Her body did not relax completely, and her eyes would occasionally glance at Brother Ju to observe his movements. In short, Brother Ju needed to be patient if he wanted to take down the enemy without shedding a drop of blood. If everything goes well, when the Arhut reveals a flaw, she will become another Ao Guanhai. At the same time, in the surveillance cabin of the Dolphin cruise ship. This is F** King Awesome. Director Not Deaf looked at the screen on the console and cursed unhappily. We just handed over the GPS knife to that guy, and the torrential rain blocked the signal. This is really... He then cursed a few words that started with F and S. The one that started with F was used in the ongoing phase, and the one that started with S was used as a noun. Although he was cursing, his tone was calm. There was no anger in his voice at all. Instead, there was a hint of self-deprecation. Don't worry, Mr. Not Deaf, a staff member near him said. A staff member not far from him said, Carbon is still under our surveillance, isn't it? Just call me James, kid. Not Deaf replied after glancing sideways at the staff member. The staff member was indeed very young and not deaf, so it was not inappropriate to call him a kid. Okay, Not Deaf. I mean James. Ha! Not Deaf smiled and shook his head. He paused for 2 seconds before continuing. Kid, when faced with someone like Stephen Carbon, conventional surveillance is not enough. He turned his gaze to the surveillance screen where Brother Ju and Arhut were. If he wants to, he can dismantle the camera in the cave, just like before. So, GPS is very important. That is our trump card. His words came to an abrupt end. He did not say the word trump card, because on the surveillance screen in front of him, something happened again. At the same time, in the cave, Arhut sat next to the fire and looked at Brother Jew with a smile. In her hand, there was something else, a pistol. "Why do you have a gun?" Brother Jew, who was forced to retreat to the wall, did not show any signs of panic. However, he was screaming in his heart, "Are you King kidding me? Haha, of course I took it from Belle. According to the rules of the competition, each contestant can bring 10 items to the competition, but before they come to the island, the program team will confiscate all these items. When Belle appears in front of a contestant, the contestant can receive one of their items from him." Arhut smiled. "What are you holding? That military shovel? Or that knife?" As she spoke, her eyes scanned the 2 items beside Brother Jew and around his waist. "Ah, actually, I am not that interested." She turned her head to the side and flicked her hair. "Stephen, you are a smart person, so you should be able to understand. From the very beginning, my thought process is different from yours. As the old saying goes, men conquer the world and women conquer men." "Ha! While you people are focused on survival and challenges, I have already come up with a better plan. Ensure survival through plunder and win by eliminating others." Fong Bujue continued Arhut's words. "Ha! Your brain works quite fast," Arhut replied with a smile. "Unfortunately, it's a bit too late to realize it now." At this point, her expression turned cold. "Okay, let's stop chatting. Now, take out all the things you have on you and put them on the ground one by one. Don't you think this threat is ridiculous? You and I both know very well that you can't shoot me." Fong Bujue would not give in so easily. He had to fight back. "Oomph, I won't shoot you." Arhut sneered and slowly moved the gun down. "But I can shoot you in the knee." "Hey, wait." Fong Bujue broke out in a cold sweat. A gunshot wound is no joke. Even if it hits the arm or leg, it can kill. "Of course I know that," Arhut replied. "If not for the fact that I was worried about accidentally killing you, I would have shot you a long time ago. It's safer and more convenient for me to search you after I take you down." She paused. "So, I advise you to do me a favor and do yourself a favor. Obediently hand over all your things and then pick up a random rock and smash it into your knee." She sounded like Brother Jew from several hours ago. "This way, I can save 1 bullet, and you can leave the competition with only a broken bone." Arhut suddenly raised the gun and aimed it at Brother Jew's face. "If you wish to resist until the end, or if you naively think that I won't shoot." She took several steps back like she was afraid of splashing blood. "I can't guarantee where the bullet will hit. F***me. The NPCs in this scenario sure are ruthless and ruthless." Fong Bujue thought to himself, "I might as well force my way out. After all, I've already obtained a legendary weapon, so this is not a wasted trip." Even though that was a good idea, Brother Jew was not one to admit defeat. He used 2 seconds to push the thought out of his mind and said, Okay, don't shoot. I'll do it." Then Brother Jew took several steps forward, away from the wall, and reached his hand into the back pocket of his pants. "Don't play tricks, slow down." Arhut's eyes followed Fong Bujue's every move. "We have plenty of time. Let me remind you, if you point your gun at me, you might attract." When Fong Bujue said that, he raised his head to glance at the camera. "You don't need to play mind games with me, Stephen." Arhut interrupted Brother Jew and continued in a calm tone. "In this cave, there's no one to help you." She waved the gun in her hand. "With this gun, I can do whatever I want, even if the crew feels something is wrong. Ha! In this storm, by the time they send help, it will be too late." Chapter 662. Hey, this line sounds familiar. Fong Bujue thought to himself. He didn't dare to stop moving. At this time, he had already taken out a small bag of marijuana from his pants pocket. Yes, just like that. Slowly, put the items on the ground one by one. Seeing that Zhang Heng had given in, Luohan retracted his arm and leaned his elbow against his body. This way, it would be easier for him to raise the gun. Feng Bujue raised his eyebrows and made a non-committal expression. He then slowly bent down and gently put the marijuana in his hand on the ground. Very good. Continue. Next item. Luohan ordered. Feng Bujue couldn't be happier. Slowing down would buy him some time. The problem was, he didn't have many items on him. What should I do? Brother Ju thought to himself. I've already thrown away the camera that I took off from the tree. When I met Bell for the second time, he abandoned the camera because his original plan of selfie hunting was ruined when his whereabouts were exposed. So far, I have a pair of handcuffs, a small bag of marijuana, a military shovel, and a knife. Even if I include the keys to the handcuffs, there are only 5 items. He glanced at the military shovel that was already on the ground. The worst thing is the military shovel was already on the ground from the beginning. Because the inventory was locked, Brother Ju couldn't put things into the dimensional pocket. He had been holding the military shovel in his hand the entire time. When he rested, he put it next to him. Now that I've put the marijuana away, there are only 3 items left. He focused his mind and thought quickly. Even if I take the items out at a speed of 20 seconds, I only have 1 minute to think of a solution. Thinking of this, he took the key to the handcuffs out of his pocket and bent down to put it on the ground. What key is this? Luohan asked. Handcuffs. Feng Bujue replied. You still have handcuffs on you? Luohan asked again. Yes, I'm about to take it out. When Feng Bujue replied, he suddenly had an idea. Oh, right. I have a suggestion. He put down the key and looked up. How about this? I'll cuff myself, and you can take the key away and throw it away. That way, I'll still lose my mobility, and I won't have to break my legs. No. Arhut decisively rejected the proposal. Just being handcuffed does not guarantee that you will be eliminated. You can continue to move around the island wearing handcuffs. She snorted coldly. Besides, even if there is no key, there are many ways to open the handcuffs. I bet you know at least one of them. F***CK. Feng Bujue was startled. He roared in his heart. Sister, are you a half-immortal? Don't you dare to be so clever. At that moment, Brother Ju truly admired the intelligence of the NPCs on this island. That's right, Feng Bujue did know a few ways to get out of the handcuffs without using the key. In fact, he even practiced it. Don't ask me why. In the face of this kind of ordinary chain handcuffs, as long as he was given a wire, a pin, or even a piece of relatively stiff paper, he could easily open it. Even if he encountered a more secure and more advanced handcuff, he still had a trump card, the thumb dislocation method. Of course, this method was not suitable for everyone. People with 2 big hands, people with poor physiological knowledge, and people with weak willpower would not be able to do it. But Brother Ju was more than capable of doing that. He had practiced it before. Okay, you saw through me. Brother Ju soon calmed down the depression in his heart and laughed. This is interesting. Oh. Luohan raised her eyebrows and asked, You think it's interesting? Yes. For me, the process of being gradually forced into a desperate situation by a clever opponent is a kind of enjoyment. Feng Bujue laughed as he put his hand into his trouser pocket again. Every time I think of a strategy, you immediately resolve it. So, I have to think of a better strategy. This feeling of being constantly forced into a desperate situation makes me tremble with excitement. He was not joking. His hand was really trembling slightly. What I'm saying, do you understand? Miss Luohan. No. Luohan's answer was quick and concise. As she listened to Brother Ju's words, her expression kept changing. At that moment, she looked at Brother Ju as if to say, So you are a pervert. That's too bad. Feng Bujue sighed. At the same time, he took out the handcuffs from his trouser pocket and put them on the ground. At that moment, Brother Ju's trouser pocket was emptied, and he only had 1 item left on him, Bell's daily knife. Wait, are you going to take the knife? Seeing Brother Ju reach for the scabbard, Luohan alertly stopped him. Yes, Feng Bujue replied. Luohan heard this, thought for 2 seconds, and then ordered, Turn left, face me sideways, and let the entire knife appear in my line of sight. She waved the gun in her hand. Put your left hand on your right shoulder and use your right hand to slowly remove the scabbard from the belt. She clenched the gun. I'm warning you. If you plan to pull out the knife and attack, or suddenly throw the knife at me, you only know how to shoot. Fong Bujua interrupted her and continued. Ah, I know. You don't have to repeat yourself. Before he finished speaking, Brother Ju had already followed Luo Han's instructions. Luo Han was a little relieved to see him being so obedient, at least on the surface. Stephen Carbon, in front of her, did not have any intention of starting a fight. But in fact, Brother Ju's resistance had already begun. The moment his right hand touched the knife, he activated the fourth special effect of this legendary weapon. Keep up, Kevin. In the previous article, I did not explain this special effect in detail. But here is a good place to add equipment or items with summoning special effects, such as Bell's Daily Knife, will have a hyperlink function in the item description menu. As long as the player opens the link, they can see the details of the summoning effect. Using Kevin as an example, the following information can be seen through the link in the item description. Summoning special effect. Keep up, Kevin. Effect. Summon Kevin to fight for you. Cooldown time. 1 week. Duration. 45 minutes. Maximum of 1 Kevin at a time. Remark. Kevin will not appear out of thin air. After the special effect is activated, he will quickly appear in front of you in a relatively reasonable form. Kevin's basic appearance is that of a 35-year-old Caucasian man. His specific attire will change according to the environment he appears in. Kevin will always carry a video camera. Kevin's combat ability is stronger than the average human, even if he is carrying a video camera. Kevin can accept the summoner's mental commands as well as verbal commands. Kevin will only communicate with the summoner very simply, and in most cases, he will ignore the conversations of others and remain silent. What are you doing? Why are you taking so long? Are you trying to play tricks? Luo Han saw that Brother Ju had not taken the knife off his belt after more than 50 seconds, so he immediately raised his voice and shouted, because it's not convenient to use one hand. Fong Bujua casually found an excuse that sounded quite reasonable. In fact, he was also wondering, it's been almost a minute. Why isn't Kevin here yet? Boom! At this moment, there was a sudden clap of thunder outside the cave. Before the thunder stopped, a figure had already appeared at the entrance of the cave. The person was tall and strong, with a resolute face, military boots, and a raincoat. He carried a rather outdated camera and stood silently at the entrance of the cave without saying a word. Luo Han saw the uninvited guest and was immediately shocked. She instinctively moved a few steps to the side and turned the muzzle between Brother Ju and the figure at the entrance of the cave. Kevin, Fong Bujua asked tentatively. Kevin did not answer. He just took a few steps forward and nodded at Brother Ju. What? Who is it? Luo Han's face was full of shock. She turned to look at Kevin and said, Are you a staff member of the program? Kevin continued to be silent. Hey, why aren't you saying anything? Luo Han asked. At this moment, Fong Bujua also wanted to ask the same question, because he had clearly given the order in his mind to answer her yes, but Kevin did not speak. So Brother Ju tried to give a try and gave the order to stand on 1 foot. As a result, Kevin immediately did as he was told. What are you doing? Luo Han saw this inexplicable and unbelievable scene and could not help but be a little shaken. Who are you? I see. I can only command his actions, but I can't control his words. Fong Bujua quickly understood. He immediately ordered in his mind, Kevin, subdue that woman. In the next second, Kevin moved. His strong shadow rushed out like a wild horse, like a fierce tiger coming down the mountain. In a flash, he was already in front of Luo Han. F***CK. This is at least the level of a level 30 player. Fong Bujua saw this and was shocked. He knew that Kevin was strong, but he never thought that he would be strong to this extent. Bang! Then, the gun in Luo Han's hand rang. Unfortunately, this shot only hit the camera on Kevin's right shoulder. She cannot be blamed. Kevin's actions created a lot of psychological pressure on her, making it impossible for her to react calmly. Besides, she was only an actress, not an assassin. Her marksmanship was not that good. Cough! Let me go! Cough! You bastard! In just 5 seconds, Luohan was put to the ground by Kevin. The latter held her neck with one hand and pressed her to the ground. The gun in Luohan's hand had also been knocked away by Kevin and slid to Brother Jew's feet. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.